One home run shy of the all-time single-season home run mark of 70. Will he do it in Houston? Beautiful night in Houston. The roof is off at Enron Field just in case a significant home run or two or three happens to fly out of the ballpark. Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Berman along with Hall of Famer Joe Morgan. The San Francisco Giants at the Houston Astros beginning a three-game set. And frankly, both teams really need to win badly. The Giants pretty much have to win out. Houston has St. Louis nipping at him. But what is this home run thing that everybody was talking about on the field?
Well, they were following Barry Bonds around.
Oh, that guy, Barry Bonds. In case you missed it, Friday night, at home against San Diego, Bonds authored this one to deep center. It was gone, homer number 68. And then against the lefty that always gives him trouble, Chuck McElroy, he goes deep on Saturday, home run number 69 against the Padres.
And he was 2 for 32 against Chuck McElroy before that hit.
On Sunday, Bonds saw 11 pitches. Only one of them was a strike. He grounded out. He was hit by a pitch. He was walked a couple times. Joe, how does he stay so focused knowing that, for example, over the weekend, he got 3 pitches to hit for strikes over the last 2 games? How does he stay still dialed in?
Well, I think that's the key to his success this year. In the past, Barry Bonds would get upset when they would walk him on 4 pitches and not even try to get him out. This year, when they walk him, he drops his bat, goes to first base, doesn't think about it. As he's inched closer to 70 home runs, there seems to be a calmness within Barry that's showing a lot more. When I talk to him now, he's very calm. Nothing seems to faze him, and he's not stressed out. He's not pressing right now.
He just wants to press the Giants into the postseason. They're 2 behind Arizona with 6 to go. We were here a week ago, and the Astros had a 5.5-game lead in the National League Central. But all of a sudden, the Cards are just 1 behind them. Now, if truth be known, the Astros win tonight, they will clinch a postseason berth. They will clinch at least a wild card berth. But still, they got to be playing a little bit better baseball, and perhaps not only trying to avoid history, but Shane Reynolds, the lone veteran left on the staff, becomes all the more important for Houston. Do you agree, Joe?
Well, it's important for the Astros not just to make the playoffs. You want to win your division. That gives you a home field advantage going through the playoffs maybe. They had the best record in the league for a while. Now they're struggling. You want to get back on top. You're not just concerned with making the playoffs. And this team has to be led by their veterans, and they have a veteran lineup of hitters. And Moises Alou is back in there tonight, which really helps them a lot. But they've got the right guy on the mound. Shane Reynolds has been their best pitcher over the last few years. He's a veteran pitcher. He knows how to handle these situations. So it should be a good matchup between him and Barry tonight.
He's the only Astro that's won a game in the last weekend. He knows he'll be facing third man up in the top of the first. Bonds. Barry Bonds. Mission no longer impossible. Welcome to Houston. Will this be a night to remember? Shane Reynolds hopes it is not. Meanwhile, Dusty Baker and the Giants know they pretty much have to win out if they're going to at least tie the Arizona Diamondbacks. They need some help from Arizona. There's no other way to say it than that. As the Giants try to make the playoffs, they made it in '97, made it in 2000. Can they make it in 2001? And, of course, Bonds hits third, but before him is Rich Aurelia, and behind him is Jeff Kent, and then John Vanderwall, who through his career has hit Shane Reynolds awfully well. Those are the guys that got to get going, Joe, to get Bonds more pitches tonight.
Well, Jeff Kent has not had the same type of season he had last year when he was the most valuable player. He hit very close to 300 with runners in scoring position. This year he's around 260 with the runners in scoring position. So that has not helped the fact that, you know, Bonds does not get pitched too often. They need somebody behind him to get hot, and Jeff Kent is the right guy for that to happen. There you see Shane Reynolds pitches. Statistics, he throws a fastball, curveball, changeup, a splitter. He throws all the pitches and a slide piece. He throws everything, and I think he's a very good competitor. I think you will see him try to get Barry Bonds out. I don't think you see him pitch around him unless we're later in the ball game or runners in scoring position. Then he may pitch around him, but normally I think he'll go after him. And there you see the defense behind him. Gold Glove second baseman Craig Biggio. He started off as a catcher, but now he's won 4 Gold Gloves as a second baseman. Bagwell, also a very good defensive first baseman. He's won Gold Gloves as well. This is a pretty good defense. Not a great defense, but a good one. Mavicio is one of the best fielding second basemen in baseball. And Bagwell at first, also an excellent first baseman.
Those are the Astro names that you've come to know. Can they get into the postseason and do something? Well, we'll see first if Barry Bonds and the Giants can get going against Shane Reynolds. Certainly not the same sort of milestone for Reynolds tonight as you look at the leadoff hitter, Calvin Murray, but yet we should mention that Reynolds trying to win his 100th career game. It's really important to him. We're underway in Houston. Calvin Murray looks at ball one. Mike Winters is the home plate umpire. Jeff Kellogg at first. Alfonso Marquez at second. Steve Ripley, if you can believe it, is the umpire at third. Calvin, a local Texas product. The Giants' first trip to Houston all year. They were here during the attack. They were here for 4 days before they went home, but this is their first game at Enron, and it took to October, Joe.
Well, that was one of the tough things about the schedule. They were not due to come here until September.
Reynolds ahead now, 1-2. Reynolds won 19 games in '98 for this club, 16 games in '99, 16 games in '96. He's 13-10 this year.
And one of the strengths of Reynolds is that he keeps the ball down. And we've seen a lot of pitches so far in this ballgame. All four of them have been either in the strike zone at the knees or below the knees. When he keeps the ball down, he usually has good success because he has a good sinker to go along with the splitter.
And the leadoff hitter in the game, Calvin Murray, has worked it to a full count. Reynolds in his 9th year at 33 years of age. The strikeouts have gone down a lot the last couple of years. Pretty good control pitcher, Joe. That's been through his entire career. Rip foul. Well, there was a buzz before the game. You remember when Mark McGwire took all the batting practices, and I mean that was the park started letting everybody get in early, especially at Busch Stadium. When you're the road team hitting, the fans are usually in the park. There was some serious oohing and eyeing. Barry's first 6 swings, 5 of them went out. Just for the record. Jose Vizcaino across to Bagwell, 1 up, 1 down in the Giants' first. And the father's Aisha Bonds. Bonds family here. Dad? And I think you visited with his dad, Bobby Bonds, his wife, Liz. Sakari's daughter, along with Aisha. And they are just as intrigued tonight to see if this will be it.
Well, Bobby was hoping he would do it in San Francisco so he wouldn't have to go back on the road again, he said.
Rich Aurelia has set the table with the first hit of the night. The all-star shortstop. Aurelia has singled, and now to the plate comes Barry Bonds.
And Barry has always gotten boos when he was on the road. But I did the game in Dodger Stadium last week, and they walked him in the first inning, and the Dodger fans booed. They wanted to see Barry Bonds hit. And he hit a home run in that series, and they gave him a standing ovation. So he has turned a lot of people around that who were negative towards him before. And I think it's just kind of the reward you get for the achievement that he's had so far this year. I mean, he has been just spectacular.
The flashbulb starting to go. Reynolds taking his time to look into Eusebio, who always catches him. In there for a strike. So, as far as pitching away from him, not the plan, at least not at this point.
Well, most teams feel like they can pitch Barry inside and up like that. And if you keep the ball right on the inside corner, you have a chance. But if you move it 6 inches out over the plate, he starts to try. Well,
that's not quite over the plate for the second time in 2 days. And two at-bats in a row, Barry Bonds has been plunked.
And it's obvious that he wasn't throwing at Barry because they're trying to pitch him inside. But the point is, if you're going to miss, you want to make sure you miss inside and not out over the plate. That ball's way off the plate inside.
And now we see why in the last two games why he wears that armor on the elbow, Joe.
Yeah.
The last two.
Well, he started wearing it originally, Chris, because he had an operation on that arm, and then he felt like he needed to protect it, and it comes in handy now.
9 times Bonds has been hit by a pitch. Only the 4th time Reynolds has hit a batter. And now here's one of those situations where the Giants need Jeff Kent to pick them up. 2 on, 1 out in the first. That'll be out of play.
And again, Jeff has had a lot of these situations lately, especially. I mean, they've been walking Barry more and more. And he started to swing the bat pretty well, it seems, but he has just not been as consistent as he was, last year. He had a good game Sunday. He hit the ball hard. He singled in the first inning in this situation, and then he lined out with the bases loaded. So he's swinging the bat much better the last week or so.
Reynolds taking his time. Jam in the first. The throw across the diamond by Castilla, and Bagwell makes the play. So a weak chopper, and the Astros turn the double play. Nothing doing for Bonds and the Giants here in Houston. Bottom of the first in Houston. And the Astros, who have dropped 5 of their last 6, need to get it going before they finish the season in St. Louis. Where the Redbirds not only are hot, period, they're so hot at Busch Stadium. But this is the beginning of a 3-game set, and manager Larry Dierker is happy to have his regular lineup bat, and that, of course, means Jeff Bagwell hitting third, Biggio leading off, but Moises Alou, for the first time since last Monday, Joe, is starting in right field.
Well, Alou is a big bat in this lineup. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. But Jeff Bagwell's a guy. He set a record this past week. He's the only guy in the history of the game to have 6 straight years of 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, 100 runs scored, and 100 walks. I mean, that's fantastic, but that's how consistent he has been. And there you see Reeder's numbers. Reeder will have to, in my opinion, pitch more inside this week than he did last week. I saw him pitch against the Dodgers, and he just stayed away. And that's fine with some right-handed hitters, but these are a group of very good right-handed hitters. You're going to have to keep them honest by coming inside every once in a while.
Greg Biggio, sorry, Joe looks at ball 1 outside.
And you can see that he reminds you a little bit of, that's Tom Glavine. He stays out on the corner and then moves further out. But Tom Glavine has started to pitch inside a lot more to keep the hitters honest. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you need to do. These hitters are looking for the ball away because they know Reeder's patterns. And these are, like I said, this is a group of really good hitters, and they will go out there and get it.
Off speed, the Biggio fouls back, so Reeder ahead 1 and 2.
If the Astros have a weakness in this lineup, it's because they're basically a right-handed hitting lineup. Only Lance Berkman is a left-hander, and he's a switch hitter. But if you get a good right-handed pitcher against this lineup, that's when they can have problems, or a good left-hander that's moving the ball around. And that's what we need. That's exactly what you have to do if you're Kurt Reeder. And now he starts the game off perfectly. I mean, this is what he needs to do. I mean, he didn't do this the entire ball game against the Dodgers. Right there, they're all looking for the ball away. You can see Biggio looking for the ball away, and he busts the ball on the inside, which is great. And here's the defense for the Giants. And, they've had several people play third base this year, and they're still trying to find an everyday third baseman. Martinez is over there today. They've used Pedro Feliz and Russ Davis.
Well, really, if you think now, I mean, I know it's October, but if you think of the Giants season as we look at Jose Vizcaíno, who took ball 1, and this is down the right field line, it's just foul. If you think about the Giants this year, they began the season with a new third baseman, and that was not only was Bill Miller traded, Russ Davis released at the beginning. They have a new right fielder, which they've been shuffling a lot of people in, and the guy who was in right field tonight, John Vanderwall, was one of the mid-season acquisitions by Brian Sabian. And then in a minute we'll talk about the third one, who has been a godsend, and that's the catcher, Benito Santiago. Tough run for Aurelia, off his glove. Kent went back from second base. It popped off the glove. And the Astros are in business. Here's an update from Brian Kenny.
Chris, keep you up to date on the games that matter this evening. Cards and Brewers. It's Darryl Kyle versus Ben Sheets. No score there. Phillies and Braves. Greg Maddux and Randy Wolf. No score there as well. Phillies 2 back, first at 3. Chris?
Hi, Brian. Thank you. That's a huge game, of course, in the NL East. I spoke earlier, but of course I knew it was Kent. Calvin Murray in center field. Kent couldn't make the play. No man's land, Joe.
Well, those little short pop-ups, there are a lot, I mean, you have to be able to go back and get them very quickly. And I mean, Jeff got a good jump on him, but he wasn't able to get there.
Jeff Bagwell from Killingworth, Connecticut, looks at strike one from Kurt Reeder. Another typical Bagwell year. Of course, last year he had 47 homers, so not quite the same. He made some adjustments to the left field porch here in Houston from last year when the balls flew out at an alarming rate. There's a strike.
Well, if you're Kurt Reeder and you get that pitch, that's exactly what you want. That ball's tailing down and away. Nothing that Bagwell could do with it, even if he swings at it. And this is, you see a great target there by Benito Santiago, right out there on the edge. Watch Santiago. He works these pitches very well. I mean, he gives them that target. He doesn't set up too quickly, but he gives them a good target. And he tells them exactly, he says, I want it off the plate if you're going to throw it out there, or I want it in, make sure you get it in there.
Santiago he's been a godsend to this team.
You're right,
Joe, because their catching situation. Remember last year they had Estalella and Mirabelli who were both gone. Santiago's playing his 130th game. I mean, he hadn't done that for maybe since the '96 Phillies.
Well, not only that, I mean, he plays day games after night games. I mean, he has really helped his pitching staff. I mean, he's been, and he's really, I think he's given the most help to is Jason Schmidt. Schmidt came here, he wasn't using his changeup a lot when he was with Pittsburgh. Now Santiago makes him use his changeup as an out pitch. I mean, he really calls a great game. I think he's done a fantastic job for the Giants, and I don't know where they'd be without him.
I think he's long gone. 1-2 to Bagwell. Oh, that had smoke on it.
You see, there's Reeder keeping him honest, and that's what you have to do. He threw a perfect pitch to Bagwell the pitch before, and he fouled it down the right field line. And that basically said that he's leaning out there, so they try to come in. This probably should have been a little bit more off the plate inside, but Bagwell rips it foul, and you don't mind that as long as they don't keep it fair on the ball inside. And a lot of times, if you're looking away, you can't keep the ball fair.
Holds off that, 2-2. As you might expect, the righty Bagwell against the lefty who he's seen a lot. And a lefty with that unbelievable gas, a la Randy Johnson. He's .393 against Reeder lifetime, but has no homers. Reeder keeps the ball down and certainly makes sure that he does against Jeff.
And Bagwell's not a pull hitter per se. He doesn't try to pull everything. If you run the ball away, he'll go the other way, which accounts for the fact that he may hit for a higher average. He's not hitting a lot of home runs. He'll go the other way with it and hit a single to right field. He's a very good hitter, very good player.
Vizcaíno at first with one out. Reeder. Kent. Dug out by J.T. Snow. So each team turns a double play in the first inning. Well, on a night we're waiting to see Barry Bonds go deep, we understand Sammy Sosa's gone deep. We'll show you when we come back. Back in Houston, Chris Berman, Joe Morgan with you on what could be a historic night for Barry Bonds. A game that both the Giants and the Astros need desperately. John Vanderwall to lead it off against Shane Reynolds. Reynolds starts him outside for the ball. Vanderwall, Snow, Ramon Martinez. Giants. Vanderwall 11 for 23, which is 478 lifetime against Reynolds. And I won't go to those figures that much, but Joe, we have Reeder and Reynolds, guys who have been around a lot, and so when you have 25, 30 at-bats or more, I think there is some truth to those figures. Don't you agree?
Well, if you get over 25 at-bats, I believe that it usually takes 20 at-bats before a pattern forms. And my reason for that is the first 4 at-bats in a game, the pitcher explores how he can get you out. If he got you out, then you adjust to what he did last time. And if you didn't, then he changes his pattern. And then you both have one adjustment period. And then after that, you know what he's going to do, and you know what the hitter's going to do.
Vanderwall coming over from Pittsburgh along with Jason Schmidt. Big acquisitions. And Vandy, through much of his career, was an ace pinch hitter. Only really in Pittsburgh did he have a chance to be a regular. He's played quite a bit for the Giants in right. This will find the seats.
Unfortunately for the Giants, he was in a slump in Pittsburgh, just before they acquired him. And it took him a while to get started here, but he is one of the better pinch hitters, and he's a very good acquisition for the Giants. He can really help them.
Ian Schmidt coming over just before the trading deadline for Armando Rios, and young right-hander with some very good promise, Ryan Vogelsong.
I actually thought the Giants helped themselves more than any other team in the West when at the trading deadline. They needed a bat to help them behind Bonds and Kent. They got that in Andres Galarraga. They needed a starting pitcher, and they got that in Jason Schmidt. They needed someone to replace Rios in right field, who was part of the trade, and they got Vanderwall. So I thought they did a great job.
And Reynolds has done a good job to Vanderwall. He strikes out looking, and we're looking for 70 for Bonds. Brian Kenny, Sammy looking for 60. The Phillies out. You can't do that, and that's ripped foul by J.T. Snow. Bray, one of the 230-30 guys this year in baseball. But back to Sosa. How about Joe? He's hit 63 times, and he's going to win no home run titles. The one year he hits 50, that's when he wins the home run title last year. Doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, it doesn't, but, Sammy Sosa is a very special player. He is amazing. To just do that year in and year out.
J.T. Snow, one of the ones hurt when you mentioned picking up it. And then here's the, see the name Sosa 3 times. This is a pretty good list right now. B. Ruth, R. Maris, S. Sosa, M. McGuire, B. Bonds. N. Bad, not bad.
That's a pretty exclusive club right there.
Well, the question is, we could debate this for 5 innings, Joe. I think that's one of the things that Barry, people wondering, well, it's just 3 years after 70. Snow swinging through that one, 2-2. And we're going to see numbers in the 60s every other year.
Well,
only Sosa had 50 last year, but
yeah, but it appears that you're going to have, Sammy Sosa doing it. I think obviously Ken Griffey Jr. is able to do it, and he hasn't done it yet. And Barry Bonds doesn't seem to be slowing down at age 37. And McGuire, if he's healthy, he's going to do it. So we may see 60 quite often in the next few years. And I still think 60 is a special number. The 70 was, to me, is just astronomical, but 60 is pretty special also. Then again, so is 30. So is 40. And 50 home runs. That's a lot of home runs.
Snow strikes out against Reynolds. So a pair of Ks here in the second inning for Shane Reynolds. The 2 seasons authored by Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa. There could be a debate on MVP, and very much so. Well, how about 846 slugging percentage? Maybe the best of all time.
I think that separates him right there. But I have to tell you, at the beginning of the season, I thought Luis Gonzalez was doing more for his team than anyone because he had the best all-around season going. A few weeks ago, I thought it was Sammy Sosa. Now I think, in my mind, I don't think there's any doubt that Barry Bonds is the most valuable player in the league. But that doesn't mean that Sammy Sosa can't win it. Doesn't mean that Luis Gonzalez can't win it, because I think all of them have had unbelievably great years, and you know, it just depends on who you prefer. But I think if a guy hits 71 home runs,
yeah, he ought to be considered. Tough play for Vinny Castilla, but he throws out his opposite man at third, Ramon Martinez. So an impressive 1-2-3 inning for Shane Reynolds. We head to the bottom of the second in Houston. Scoreless.
Brian Kenny back here in the studio. Cardinals had him loaded on the rookie Ben Sheets in the top of the second with just one out. They just get one run out of that rally. Edgar Renteria with a sacrifice fly. But it is 1-0 in the second. Chris?
All right, Brian, thank you. Boy, the game Darryl Kyle pitched last Wednesday, we were hearing another one that he's been the best guy I've seen this year. I know Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens haven't had their starts. Darryl Kyle is on it this year, Joe. Cardinals breathe down the Astros next as we begin. The second inning. Lance Berkman, young Texas product, made the All-Star team, one of the leaders in batting. Born in Waco. Grew up in Austin. Played at Rice, so he's Lone Star State all the way. And the first switch hitter to do that, not even the Mick. He had 30 homers and 50 doubles. He's only the 6th National Leaguer, period, to do that. 30 homers and 50 doubles. Chuck Klein, Ducky Medwick, Stan Musial, Frank Robinson, and Todd Helton, who did it last year and this year. It's pretty good company. Pretty impressive. And there's a base hit up the middle for Berkman. Tomorrow night, history or no history. We're back right here at you. Joe and I, Giants, Astros. Some of you will see the Phillies and Braves. We'll see if Barry Bonds, if he has 3 tonight, maybe he'll have 4 the next night, and he'll approach 80. Well, you never know. That's tomorrow night as well. The Giants and the Astros, the middle game of this 3-game set. At 8 Eastern. Here's Moises Alou. I don't think he's 100%, Joe. I asked him how he was doing. He went, all right. But he's in there. We'll know after a couple of hacks how he's doing. The hamstring that really shelled him and pinch hit over the weekend, but his last start was a week ago Monday. Well, that looks all right. Well, didn't get the thick part of the bat on it to right, and Vanderwall is there, 1 out.
well, that's a good pitch there by Reeder back inside. He jammed Moises. He wasn't able to get it out on the good part of the bat. And we're going to have to watch Reeder the entire ballgame, because sometimes he has a tendency not to continue to pitch inside. He'll stay away, and if you do that, some of these guys are going to hurt you. And Moises looking for the ball away, it appeared there, and that ball middle of the plate in, and he jammed him a little bit.
Talk about a pickup that the Giants made and all those pickups. Here's Vinny Castilla. What an addition he's been. Aurelia, the shovel to Kent. And how about that? Second double play turned by the Giants in 2 innings. Scoreless in Houston. Top of the third. Barry Bonds has been hit by a pitch. He could come up 5th this inning. You know, we had him opening day, and I sat and talked with him before. He took 1 swing this season, and I asked him what he was looking for this year.
I'm not done, Chris. So 500 to me is going to be a great accomplishment. It's going to be a great honor, and I'm going to be very, 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 very pleased to be in a select group of people. But I'm not done there. I'm not going to be satisfied with just the 500. I'm going to be satisfied when that day comes and I walk out the field proud of Barry Bonds and what I've done and competed into this game and what I've given this game. And I'm going to thank everyone in baseball for giving me the opportunity to play this game.
And isn't that interesting, Joe? I mean, that was before the season started. Opening day against the Padres, we sat, he and I and Tony Gwynn sat for about 20 minutes, and he was 6 away from 500. And that kind of, as we look at number 8 hitter Benito Santiago, you and I talked about it before the game, a lot of people have forgotten how great a player in the terms of the history of the game Barry Bonds has been. 5-tool player. Well, but the 500 home runs would certainly legitimize it. This is unreal.
Well, I actually think that, you know, Barry Bonds is the Willie Mays of his generation. He's the best player of his era. I mean, he has done fantastic things on the field. I mean, he has won 3 most valuable player awards. I mean, that is special. That's the most anyone has ever won in the history of the game.
Vinny Castilla across the diamond to Jeff Bagwell. Santiago's on. Not only has he won 3, I don't want you to keep going, Joe, but he finished second last year, and he finished second in the early 90s. He's close to winning 5.
Well, there's no doubt he could have won at least 1 more. I mean, he was that good. And he has a chance to win the 4th. No one ever is in the history of the game has ever won 4 before, so that would be special. But I think that makes him a special player right there. But I mean, to hit 500+ home runs, he has 8 Gold Gloves. He has been, you know, one of the best players that's ever played this game.
As Kirk Reeder steps up, I don't think the average baseball fan, I mean, I think this, of course, what he's done is put it front and center. But people kind of forgot a little. Remember you and I were at the Players' Choice Awards, and there's a Player of the Decade. Now, that's not an easy choice. And taking nothing away from Junior, Barry was there, Junior was there, but Junior wanted him. And I wonder, well, he won 3 MVPs.
Well, I think one of the things with Barry Bonds, people do not really know him that well. He has avoided the media, you know, whenever possible. But I think if people would hear him in the context, just what you showed there, you asked him a question about the game. He has great reverence for the history of the game. He knows who the great players in the past were, the Mazes and the Aarons and the Cobbs and the Roos. He knows about them, and he wants to fit in there with those great players. And I don't think there's any doubt he does fit in there with him. I used to ride the plane with him when I broadcast for the Giants, and we talked. And he would tell me things like that about how, you know, the Mays and how he said, how did these guys accomplish all these fantastic things? So it's kind of interesting that, you know, he's getting into that category now where he is going to be looked upon, you know, in the same context as those great players.
And you saw the 3 Bonds kids. Aisha, the little girl, she's just adorable. Sakari and Nikolai and Giants dugout. And they all enjoy themselves around the park, eating a hot dog, being a hat boy. Who wouldn't? 3 strikeouts for Reynolds. Top of the order is Calvin Murray. He fouls it back.
One other thing about Barry, you know, to me is that I've talked to him a lot since the first part of the season when all this started. And there seems to be a calmness about him. The closer he has gotten to 70, the calmer he seems to me. You think back, there was a time when he told the reporters once, he said, you know, if I don't hit another home run, it means I don't have to talk to you guys again. That was kind of his attitude in the beginning. Now he embraces the press conferences, because someone asked him yesterday, you know, are you tired of this? He said, no, I'm enjoying it. And that was the question I asked him last week. I said, Barry, have you taken the time to enjoy this? This is one of the most special seasons ever in the history of the game. Make sure you enjoy it. And we had a conversation about that, and I think that's pretty good. And Bobby Bonds, his father, was on the air with us Sunday, and I asked him the same thing, and he said that the family was starting to really enjoy this, and that's what's important. I mean, to enjoy what you do, to accomplish something and be able to enjoy it as you accomplish it makes it even more special.
Reynolds looking for his second 1-2-3 inning. Doesn't quite get it there. Here's what I will say, Joe, and I don't see, and there's, of course, Bobby Bonds, who was certainly one of the fine players of his era. We don't need to overstate that. I know he's at ease. That talk I had, I'll relate the story. There's 2 strikes and 2 outs, but that whole interview, and every time I've seen him this year, he is so at ease with what he's doing. Vizcaíno across to Bagwell. The speedy Murray is out, and Reynolds has another 1-2-3 inning. We will see Barry hit second in the 4th inning, but next the Astros come up trying to do something about this scoreless tie. Joe, how about dinner?
I already had mine.
Well, but look what they're serving in Ruggles. Now that's out in what, in right center field, just beneath over that hill?
I don't think you can go out there and get back before the inning starts.
I'm not as quick as I used to be, Joe. Well, let's see. Now there's us, and now here's the scene. That's a good place to have dinner with Caesar salad, a little Tex-Mex. To center field, and Calvin Murray is there to squeeze this fly ball by Richard Hidalgo. 1 up, 1 out against Kirk Reeder. Barry due up second next inning. I just want to complete what we were talking about. You see him a lot, but I've known him through the years, of course, and every time I saw opening day, we talked for half an hour. He was so comfortable for whatever reason. I don't mean comfortable like, hey, I'm going to hit 69 home runs. At the All-Star game, he was smiling ear to ear. He was very much at ease with who he was, where he had been, and where he was going on the field. I've found him much different all year long. Now, again, Joe, I'm not with them every week, but I've seen him at each stage of the season. He's been the most consistent as far as moods. Well, you would say that the season he's had would make him in a good mood, but
Yeah,
right?
so.
But you know what I'm saying? He can be moody, at least to some, but he has been so at ease, and I think that has a large part to do with the type of season he's had. Now that plus some unbelievable skills, and now you have maybe an all-time leader in home runs, slugging percentage, and all sorts of stuff for a single season. Tony Eusebio is the batter. And a 3-0 taken all the way for strike one.
I remember when McGuire was chasing Maris's record.
That'll find the hole to the right side. Eusebio aboard with one out.
And when McGuire was chasing Maris's record, the thing that I remember most is about there was no fear when he got close to 61. I mean, that's what separates, I think, a lot of the players today from some players in the past. I don't think the players today have any fear of succeeding. And people say, well, why would you be afraid of succeeding? Well, just think about the times that you were close to shooting the best round of golf you ever had and how you just wanted to get in the house. Or when you were bowling or close to your best game, how all of a sudden you're worried about being able to do this. Well, these guys are not afraid. I mean, I watched McGuire and I watched Sosa, and they just got close to the number and just destroyed it at that point. And that's the one thing I've noticed about Barry Bonds. He's not stressed out. He's not really pressing to get this thing done. He knows he's going to get it done.
JT Snow let that bunt attempt by Reynolds roll foul. You're right. I mean, McGuire with 60, 61, 62, pretty much bang, bang, bang.
Bang, bang. And I've watched guys over the history of this game. They would be ahead of Ruth's record, pace, and they would, all of a sudden they start to catch up with him because there is something special about those numbers: 61, 56 game hitting streak, 406 batting average. There was something special about those numbers, and the players always seem to get a little stressed out when they got close to those numbers.
This time Reynolds gets it down. The flip over to Kent by Snow. Eusebio to second, 2 out for the leadoff man, Biggio.
Good job there by Reynolds to make sure he got the ball down, and he gets the runner in the scoring position. Squares around first, just kind of catches it on the end of the bat, and JT Snow's only play is to first base.
Just to finish up that thought, at least for a moment here on Bonds, since July 26th, the longest he has gone, Joe, without hitting a home run is 3 games. That's a long time. I mean, over 2 months, having won at least one every 4 games. That's ridiculous.
The most consistent guy I'd ever seen in that situation was George Foster the year he hit 52. It just seemed like he hit one every day. He didn't hit 3 or 4, but he hit one every day. I mean, and that's consistency. And Barry's even more consistent because he doesn't get to swing that much every game.
Certainly not anymore. He's about to set the all-time. He already has the National League record for walks. He's just a few off of Babe Ruth's 170 walks in a single season. He's been hit by a pitch tonight.
He's either going to break the walk record or get a hit to the walk record. He's been hit 2 straight times now and 2 straight at bat. So
I think Don Baylor and Ron Hunt and those guys are okay in that department, don't you? There it is. He passed McGuire for the National League mark. 167 walks in a single season. Are you kidding me? His on-base percentage, well, now with the hit by pitch, we're going to calculate it again, was .505.
Well, the .847 slugging percentage is just fantastic. Well, it's .846 now, but he was at .847. I guess he had a point on Ruth, and Ruth's the only player in the history of the game to ever have a slugging percentage of over 800 for a full season.
Biggio with a chance to put the Astros at the slugging percentage in case. That's not a number you see all the time. And I know that we don't mean to talk down to the baseball fans, but it's total bases divided by at-bats. So that's how you would have a number like 846. Barry Bonds has 69 homers, 32 doubles, a couple triples. 2-2 with 2 out to Biggio. Eusebio at second. Scoreless game, bottom 3. Bonds due up second in the top of the 4th. And now it's full to Biggio.
But it's interesting here because Kurt Rita has a couple of choices. He's been able to make Biggio conscious of the fact he'll come inside and the outside part of the plate is opened up if he can throw it out there. So he's got a couple of choices, going away with a sinking fastball or come back inside with a fastball. Or a third choice, of course, is something off speed.
That was off speed, and it's yanked to left. Off the wall, Eusebio scores. Bonds throws into second. Not in time. The Stros are on the board. He should have gone with choice 1 or 2, Joe.
Well, he got the ball out over the plate. He was trying to get it away, and he didn't get it far enough away, but a good job of hitting by Biggio. He stayed right there, wasn't fooled by the speed, and just laced it off the wall. Now watch Santiago. He gives the target away. Look where this pitch is. Right in the middle of the plate, but, I mean, it's a 3-2 off-speed pitch, so it's not that bad that you get it there. And he lines it off the wall. Good job by Barry to try to get him at second base, but Biggio runs too well for that.
Biggio is still not, his slide wasn't the prettiest. You'd want him in your lineup every day. Well, for 2,000 games, the Stros, but he's just not 100% from the injury that shelved him the last 2 months last year. He'll tell you that.
Well, he had a bad knee, and anytime you have a knee, it takes a while to recuperate, not just the off season. And I think he'll get better. I think some of his speed will come back because he doesn't steal bases nearly as well as he did before. But you can see he actually drags it a little bit. But I mean, that he has had a fantastic season, coming back from that type of a knee injury that he suffered last year. And you see there 7 steals, 11 attempts. He's a 50 stolen base kind of guy.
He also, bad knee begats bad back. I mean, that kind of all happens when you played that many ball games in your career. I mean, next year he'll pass 2,000 games. You can certainly respect. You know it well. Swinging bunt. Vizcaíno was gone, but the Astros are on the board with the dirty helmet guy. Craig Biggio drives in Eusebio. Bonds due up second when we come back. Closing figure of Barry Bonds in the on-deck circle. He'll wait his turn as Rich Aurelia hits his first at-bat against Shane Reynolds. He started him with a strike and then plunked him right on the elbow inside.
Well, the reason you do that, I don't mean the reason you hit him, is the reason he has been hit so often this year is that they try to pitch him inside. And the point is, if you're going to miss with the pitch, make sure you miss off the plate inside instead of missing out over the middle of the plate, which has happened a lot also this year. So a lot of times you will see guys make sure that ball gets inside. And that's what we saw there, and Barry wasn't able to get out of the way.
We begin with Rich Aurelia, whose single in the first inning gives him 199 hits this year. What a season he has had. And there's number 200, ripped to left. Aurelia will dig. Berman to the track, fumbles it. And so it's a stand-up double for Rich Aurelia, and welcome to the 200-hit club in one season, and that's quite an accomplishment.
Well, it is quite an accomplishment. Only 2 other Giants players, San Francisco Giants players, have accomplished that. The great Willie Mays, of course, and Bobby Bonds. Those are the 2 other San Francisco Giants players to have 200 hits in a season. I don't think they will walk him intentionally here. I think they're going to try to get him out. Remember, the Astros are trying to win the game. Their objective is not to keep Barry Bonds from hitting a home run. I mean, that's part of it. If that can help him win the ball game, they care. They don't really care if Barry hits 3 home runs and they still win the ball game. Their objective is to win the game, and I think you'll see him try to get him out. I don't expect him to make any mistakes, but they will try to get him out.
And there's the Bonds shift. Vizcaino to the second base side of the bag. Biggio like a short fielder, like the number 10 fielder in softball, Joe. Flash bulbs going up. They use those special balls. There was a delay at the plate as they throw out the regular balls and put in the commemorative balls. Bonds' seniors and juniors looking on.
This is the one thing that Barry Bonds has done better than anyone I've ever seen. I mean, he just will not swing at a bad pitch. I mean, a lot of pitches are close. I thought he had a 3-0 pitch in the game Sunday that he could have swung at. But he will not swing at a bad pitch.
That's in there on the outside corner for a strike. 2-1 to count to Bonds. Four home runs and 16 at bats in this park last year. This is the Giants' first game here this year. Not been missed by much. He is very patient. Walks are not only intentional, are they?
The one thing you have to give him credit for, he never hurts his team by swinging at pitches out of the strike zone. He'll go ahead and take the walk. He doesn't make an out trying to just get an at-bat.
So Bonds aboard twice, hit by pitch, now walk. Number 168 for his season. And we've gone progressively down since Friday, Joe, in these swings.
Well, that's what happens when you get close. I have to tell you something. When I played here with Houston, there was a pitcher named Joaquin Andahar. And anytime a pitcher walked one of the guys in those situations, he'd say, well, if you're scared, take a Doberman out there with you. But I think Shane Reynolds was just trying to make the pitches. You saw him go inside the first time up to try to get Barry out. Well, he was going away then, trying to keep Barry from pulling the ball to move Rich Aria over to third with less than 2 outs. So I think he was trying to get him out. He just was trying to make perfect pitches. And I mean, that's the situation that you're in now with a guy with 69 home runs.
Of course, you played in a couple other parks than this. Not only the Dome.
Yeah.
Dare I bring it up?
Yeah.
The Colts Field? What was it?
Colts Stadium.
Colts Stadium. 2 on for Jeff Kent.
And again, this has been typical of the Giants lately with, you know, Aria getting a lot of base hits and Bonds getting a lot of walks and being hit a few times. Jeff Kent has been up in this situation quite a few times. And again, he's been swinging the bat much better lately.
He grounded into a third to first double play to end the first inning. Chops that wide of, well, a man that you played in Colt Stadium with, Sonny Jackson. Right? The DP combination of the early Houston Colt 45. Sonny Jackson, third base coach of the Giants. So big spot here for Kent. The Giants trail 1-0 here in the fourth.
And Jeff Kent is, you know, he has 96 runs batted in. He's driven in over 100 runs the last few years. So obviously he would like to get to 100, but he is going to get a lot of opportunities, I think, over the next 5 ball games after tonight. They have 5 left.
Tough play for Castilla. Makes it over to Bagwell. Runners advance to second and third, so 1 out, 2 runners in scoring position for John Vander Wal.
This is a nice play by Castilla because they're playing back deep for the double play, and it's not an easy play, but what he does here is something I like. This ball is moving still pretty quickly. Don't try to barehand it. Catch the ball and make the throw, and that's exactly what he does, and he retires Jeff Kent. You see a lot of guys, the ball's still moving pretty quickly. They try to barehand that ball, and they're not able to do that. Nice play by Castilla.
John, all in all, it's just another brick in the Vander Wal. Swinging at the first pitch, slow roller to Biggio. He'll go to Bagwell, but the Giants tied the game as Aurelius scores. So 1-1 here. Brian Kenny, what do you have?
Chris, take you to the NL East, and we start things off with Atlanta and Philly against a 2-0 ball game with Bobby Abreu's 2-run shot. And here's Marcus Giles, base hit, gonna drive and run, make it 2-1. Philly got out of it with a double play from Julio Franco, so it's 2-1 now in the bottom of the 6th. Cards and Brewers. Here's Jim Edmonds in a 1-0 ball game against Ben Sheets in the 4th. Albert Pujols is on second. Base hit the other way, brings in Pujols. We have a 2-0 ball game now. In that game, they're in the bottom of the 4th as well. Chris, Joe?
All right, Brian, thank you. So the Brewers will have a lot to say about who gets in and with it. The Cards now, and they finish up with Arizona. A lot of these teams long out of it have a lot to say about who might go and who might not. Bonds is at third base. J.T. Snow. Chopper to Bagwell. So after a couple runs, Reynolds keeping the ball in the infield. The Giants do tie it. Barry Bonds without an official at bat yet tonight. 4th, the Giants have tied it at 1, but 3 of the weakest grounders that we will see by some pretty good hitters.
So they got the job done. At least they tied the game. You're right. They did not hit a ball hard after Reed's double.
Bagwell, Berkman, and Alou. Some heavy metal here for the Astros. Bag still can reach the 40 home run mark. That would make 3 seasons in a row and 4 out of the last 5 if he can do it. '11th season since coming over to Houston, as in, Joe told you about that in the first inning. First player ever to put all those numbers up. 6 straight years.
Actually, I was surprised because I thought Frank Thomas would have a chance to do that because he walks a lot. You know, to have 100 walks, 100 RBIs, 100 runs scored, and 30 home runs, and hit 300.
He did. I don't know about the walk part. The other part, 5 years in a row.
Right. Well, he always walks 100 times.
Yes,
so he
yeah,
probably has 5 years of that. Those are special numbers.
Count now full to Jeff Bagwell. One of those guys who.
Well,
fishing here, Joe.
Well, this is a good pitch by Reeder. You see the sinking action on it, and Bagwell sitting on a 3-1 pitch was trying to do some damage. Good pitch.
Aurelia to Snow and gets Bagwell on a slow chopping ground ball.
That was an excellent pitch. Fastball was toward the outside corner, moved away, and Bagwell was committed. All he could do was hit a little ground ball to shortstop. Good pitch there by Reeder. Watch where this pitch is. It's tailing away, too. See where it is? It's running away from him, and not much he can do. Routine play for Rich Aurelia at shortstop. And there's the Gold Glove form of J.T. Snow at first base.
All-star Aurelia. He really. You know, he's become this year at the plate Jeff Kent, hasn't he?
Yes. You know, everyone would wonder if you ask who was second on the Giants in RBIs and home runs, you know, everyone else would probably guess Jeff Kent. But at this point, Rich Aurelia is second in home runs. He was tied with Jeff until Sunday in RBI, so he's done a fantastic job. Had a great year. Look at those numbers.
Yep. 36 home runs at the shortstop position. I know A-Rod is 50. You know, I understand that.
Well, but everyone else knows A-Rod's a great player too. They didn't know that about Rich Aurelia. But even that reflects on Barry Bonds, because Rich Aurelia never hit that many home runs before, but hitting in front of Barry Bonds has really helped him a lot. See, I've always said that, you know, the great players make the players around them better. Jeff Kent won the MVP award last year hitting behind Bonds.
Yes.
Rich Aurelia is having an unbelievable year this year hitting in front of Barry, all because of Barry's presence right there in this lineup.
Here's another thing that Aurelia has helped him. Now look at this. Now you wouldn't think this would be the case, Joe, all right? Home run tandems. Mantle and Maris, Ruth and Gehrig, Bonds and Aurelia. Third. Ripped by Berkman off the wall and gets past Bonds. Ricochets almost like it's a highlight of their birthday. Almost in his shortstop. Well, that ball got out there in about 2 seconds. Ball had hair on it.
Well, the one thing you can't do if you're Rich O'Reilly is continue to pitch from behind against these good right-handed hitters. And the count was 3-1 on Bagwell. He got him out, but he couldn't get away with a 3-1 fastball to Berman. And he did drill it off the wall. And Barry played it like he was going to try to hold him to a single. Watch this. Low fastball right in the middle of the plate. And I mean, they're just lucky that ball didn't get up in the air. Now, Barry's trying to play it, but he hits right off the wall and bounces back so sharply he wasn't able to make the play.
I think that was a 5-hole, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looked like it. But
well, with those score numbers out there, it doesn't take the honest carom. That went a little low on him. Berkman, 52 doubles, Joe. And here's Moises Alou, flew out to right in the second inning. Berkman now 2 for 2. 52 doubles by Berkman, ties in with Helton for the major league lead. Reader just steps off. Woody, as he's affectionately known by his teammates. A little doll that he keeps in his locker. Not a doll, it's hard to explain, but it's kind of an old wooden figure. Larry Dirk comes in here, wins 3 division titles. And last year they fall off, and people say, well, let's get rid of him. Whoa, 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 whoa. If they can hold on against the Redbirds, 4 of 5. Pretty impressive. Coming on and making the catch is Vanderwall. They got a late break on it, Joe, but then ball hung up there just enough for him. So Alou's going opposite way twice, and Vanderwall was caught it both times.
well, what happened was Vanderwall wasn't sure the ball was going to hang up. This is a little breaking ball away, and Lou goes the other way with it. And a nice play in right field by Vanderwall. He just wasn't sure it was going to hang up, so he had to make up his mind very quickly, and he made the right decision.
So now Vinny Castilla. Almost playing in exile at Tampa Bay this year, Joe, and last year. It's away from Santiago, but no sense certainly for Berkman to go in this situation. He could have.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you there. That play, you have to get to third base because that ball. Yeah, and the reason, I mean, I'll give you this little trivia thing. There are at least 9 ways that you can score from third base with 2 outs that you can't score from second. And you can think about that. Look how far this ball bounces away. I mean, he has plenty of time to get to third base. And you're always better off at third than you are at second.
9 different ways.
Yeah, you can think about them. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about
the people
tomorrow.
at home. Look, tomorrow. I can't wait till tomorrow, Joe.
But there are 9, at least 9. I mean, there are 9 ways. Maury Wills taught me that.
Well, Maury, if we're thinking Maury Wills, then obviously stealing home.
Well, the reason that I bring that up is because I talked to Maury Wills. I didn't steal third base a lot when I was playing. I always stole second. I said I'm in scoring position. And we had a conversation one day because Maury stole third all the time. And he told me, he said, if you steal third, you know, he said there are at least 9 ways you can score from third. With 2 outs, you couldn't score from second. And that's all he left me with. So I had to try to figure out those 9 ways. And took me a while, but I figured them out, you know.
So, Joe, I mean, I have to wait till this tomorrow to get the answer? I mean,
you can do it yourself. Figure them out.
Well, I'm going to let our fans at home do it. We'll come back in a couple innings. Maybe we'll give you the full answer tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. But no one wants to tune in to see Barry Bonds. They'll come in for the answer, right?
But you are better off at third with 2 outs than you are at second, and we'll figure that out. We'll show you one of these days.
Oh, there's how many
9
stories in the Naked City?
Oh.
There's 50 ways to leave your lover.
Okay, well, there are 9
different ways you can score from third base
that you can't score from second with 2 outs.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one will twirl into the seats. Started talking about Castilla. I mean, he was not a reclamation project. I mean, everybody's numbers are inflated in Colorado, and his were like Galarraga's, like everybody, unbelievable. But Boy, he has just done a tremendous job here in Houston. I mean, he was languishing. No one even knew he was playing anymore at Tampa Bay. Of course, many players kind of go down there, and that's the end of it. 23 homers, 80 ribbies since he came over in May. He was let go by Tampa Bay.
He wasn't playing very much in Tampa Bay. There have been two guys that I didn't understand. They've both been released.
Reeder, nice play to Snow, and that ends the inning. Berkman stranded at second. Now, he wouldn't have scored from third on that anyway. That's not one of the ways. We'll be back at the top of the fifth, the 1-1 game.
Brian Kenny here in the studios. It's Cardinals and Brewers, and here in the fifth inning, Fernando Vina, watch closely, slices this. Jeff Jenkins going after it. Oh, no! And it's going all the way to the wall. Hey, on a night where we're waiting for that home run, here's Fernando Vina coming all the way around, and there's not even a play on him. Inside the park, home run. It's 3-0. Hey, Chris, I bet you a guy with 689 stolen bases had a few of those.
Yeah. Inside the park home runs, Joe, you have a few to your...
No.
That was what Brian Kenny wanted to do.
I hit big flies. No, actually, I don't think I ever had one. Seriously, I don't think I ever had one. And I should have in the Astrodome, as big as that place was.
I'm surprised at that.
I am too, but I can't remember one. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, we'll have to go, and that'd be another reason to tune in tomorrow. As we begin the fifth inning in a 1-1 game, pretty quiet. I have to tell you, it's.
Well, I think a lot of people are waiting. I mean, you know, to watch history made or tied or whatever, and that always makes the crowd a little quieter.
Ramon Martinez leads off the fifth inning for San Francisco with a sharp single to left.
I must admit, Peter Pasquarelli, he got 8 of those 9 ways to get from third to home with 2 outs that he couldn't score from second. I mean, he got them like real quick. He got 8 of them.
Yeah, but we're sitting here announcing the game. He's sitting there with a pad of paper back there. He had some more time to figure it out.
Well, that's true, but he got them.
No, he was quick, I will admit.
Yeah.
That's the quickest Peter has rounded third in a while. That 9th one, I'm going to have to really...
Yeah, the 9th one is tough.
Benito Il Duce, Santiago. Remember him, youngster with the Padres, rookie of the year, many a moon ago. Rookie of the year in '87 for San Diego, 34-game hitting streak. Kind of went early Florida, Philly, Cincy, Philly, Toronto, Cubs, Cincinnati again. And again, he has been a godsend for the Giants this year. Defensively and offensively, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, they were getting nothing out of the catcher position. And I know 42 RBIs isn't going to light up anyone's lamp this day and age, but I mean, he's hitting at the 8-hole, and what he's doing with the pitchers, though, I mean, is much more important anyway.
I think that's the key, you know, managing. See, a catcher's job, I think sometimes we get away from the fundamentals of the game. A catcher's job is to be a good defensive catcher and handle the pitchers. That's his job. Anything you get offensively is great. I mean, we've been spoiled by the likes of, you know, Ivan Rodriguez, you know, Johnny Bench, all these guys who were great hitters as well as great catchers, and Roy Campanella.
Piazza.
But, yeah, Piazza even more so. But I mean, defense is really what a catcher's job is in handling the pitchers. Just like the middle of the diamond is the same way. Your shortstop, your second base positions, but these guys are hitting 300, hitting 35 home runs, driving in 100 runs. So we're spoiled sometimes.
Absolutely. 1-2 to Santiago. Reynolds just misses. One game here in the fifth. 2-out double by Biggio in the third. Ground out by Vanderwall in the fourth. Nothing exciting. Barry Bonds hit by a pitch in the first, walked in the fourth. Yes, he went around, says Jeff Kellogg at first.
tough pitch there. That looked like a good splitter from Reynolds by the way that Santiago went after it.
Four strikeouts for Reynolds. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did a good job of trying to cover it up, though.
Well, he's a catcher. He knows that Kellogg was there saying, hey, in Battle Creek, Michigan, we call that a strike. There was a special K.
I've been there. I've been there. I've been there.
Have you?
Yeah.
Reeder, good bunt. Bagwell to Biggio. And so with 2 outs, Ramon Martinez at second and Calvin Murray is coming up. I know you've been waiting for this. You want to tune in tomorrow night to hear me read this as well. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, who's here, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without express written consent. For the most extensive coverage of Major League Baseball, MLB.com. You can connect with it.
I didn't see the commissioner on the field before the game.
No, I didn't, but he's here right behind the plate. He has a good seat. How did that happen?
I can only imagine. I saw him Sunday. He was at Pac Bell Park.
I still want to call it canvas too.
Still do occasionally.
Whoa! Bat goes farther than ball.
And calling it Candlestick Park is like really blasphemy.
Yeah, it is.
That's a great stadium, Pac Bell Park.
Home of the Giants for 40 years. I mean, you just can't help it, Joe.
Yeah. And since you see Calvin Murray trying to hold on to it, but bat slips out of his hand.
Calvin grew up in Dallas. First-round pick of the Giants in '92. Spent 7 years in the minors. First-round pick. He played his ball in Austin, University of Texas. Team went to the College World Series in '91. Southwest Conference career and season record holder in the stolen base department. So he feels like he comes home when he plays here in Houston.
He's done a great job defensively, especially in center field for the Giants. He's had some very good games as a leadoff hitter as well, but he is one of the best outfielders in the game. It's a great jump on the ball, runs the ball down, and can time a lot of dives perfectly in the outfield. He's an excellent defensive player.
The Giants looking for a little offense here right now with Martinez, the runner, at second. Potential go-ahead run. Whoa, that's a tough take at 0-2, but he was right.
Well, it's definitely a tough take. I mean, with 2 strikes, I think he took it because he couldn't hit that one. I don't think he took it because he thought it was a ball. But that ball is clearly low, though. It's low. I didn't think it was off the plate inside, but it's clearly low.
Still a tough take.
Yes, with 2 strikes. In that fact, that's one of those situations where if he calls you out, really you shouldn't say anything, because it was a pretty close pitch to be taken with 2 strikes. I remember a conversation I had with an umpire once, and he said, Joe, there's no such thing as a close pitch. He says it's either a ball or it's a strike. I said, oh, okay, good idea. No, he's right. I mean,
well, you're either out or safe, right?
Yeah, right. There's no tie. He says either a ball or it's a strike. It's not a. There's no call for a close pitch.
Murray, little flare. Biggio's not going to get it. Martinez waved home. Fumbled in the outfield. 2-1 Giants.
Well, he fought it off until he got a pitch that he could handle. The reason that this is a base hit, the pitch is up a little bit. It jams him, but he's able to flare it into right field. And with 2 outs, very rarely you're going to keep a runner from scoring for second base on a base hit that's not hit hard. So that ball's on the inner half of the plate. He jams him. Lou came in. He thought he had a shot, so he's going to try to make the play, but the ball bounces away from him. I don't think he had a real good shot at getting Martinez anyway, well, because with 2 strikes you're going on the swing, not even contact. You're going as soon as he starts to swing. 2 outs and 2 strikes.
Well, he guessed right at the 0-2 pitch. Don't forget the sacrifice by Reeder helping his own cause. And now here's Rich Aurelius, single, double, now with 200 hits. Barry Bonds on deck with 2 out. taken 2 strikes tonight, Joe. Striking each at bat before he was hit by a pitch and walked the spot. He got on the whip.
Ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and a batting helmet.
Aurelia tries to bunt his way on Eusebio. Like a cat makes the throw over to Bagwell. Good idea by Aurelia, but Eusebio was quick to pounce. So Bonds will lead off in the 6th in a 2-1 game for the Giants. Bottom of the 5th, Chris Berman, Joe Morgan, knowing that Barry Bonds will lead off in the top of the 6th. He's been hit by a pitch. He has walked. The Giants have a 2-1 lead on Calvin Murray's 2-out flare, which we just saw. And so now 7, 8, 9, Hidalgo, Eusebio, and Reynolds for the Astros.
As the umpire said, there's no such thing as a close pitch. Calvin Murray will say they don't draw pitchers in the score box. Just a base hit and an RBI.
Pretty good.
Doesn't matter how you get it done.
Hidalgo flew to center in the 3rd inning. Kurt Reeder giving up 5 hits tonight. So when you look out to center field, we'll show it after this pitch. What about that hill in center field? I mean,
Waste of
thank
dirt.
you. 30-degree up Guantanamo Hill out there. Flagpole is in play. If it hits the pole and goes over the fence, it's a home run, you know.
Yes. Well, they had an interesting thing happen here. I was watching the game on television against the Cubs. Moises Alou hit the ball, hit the middle of the scoreboard in left field and bounced over the wall, and it was a home run.
So while we debate the hill and the scoreboard bounces, walk to Hidalgo. Here's Brian Kenny.
Chris, Cardinals keeping the pressure on. Cards and Brewers 3-0 lead here in the 6th. And here's Jim Edmonds, 28th homer of the year. Got a good piece of this. Drilled that out, 2-run shot, 5-0 in the bottom of the 6th. Meantime, John Smoltz is coming on in the bottom of the 8th. Greg Maddux is out. Phillies still have a 2-1 lead. That's in the tight NL East. Chris?
Randy Wolf. I like Randy Wolf. I just do. And the Phillies would pull to within 1 if they held on, huh?
I was doing my chat this morning, and the guy called in and asked the question, why were they starting Randy Wolf instead of Robert Person? I couldn't answer the question. But I couldn't answer the question. I couldn't answer it.
Because they wanted a 2-1 lead in the 8th.
That's a good point. I hope that guy is watching it.
Well, if not, he'll tune in tomorrow night for your 9 ways. Are you going to give it up on a chat, or are we going to have to tune in?
No, you have to tune in.
Good. You don't want to give too much away in those chats. You don't seem to be a chatty type, though. I mean, you're pretty much to the point when I know, you know.
You know what? That's
the times that we've spent together.
Yeah, well, some of the people probably right in on the chat probably think that way too.
I don't think it's a chat. I think it's a quick phrase. It's more of a phrase from you, not a chat.
Question and answer.
Yes, QA.
Yeah, QA.
1-0 to Eusebio, taking a long look at the signs from the longtime third base coach, Matt Galante. Looks like he's a friendly sort, you know?
Yes.
I mean, he is, but if you don't know, look, he's friendly.
He's been there a long time.
Yes, yes, he has. Throw by Santiago, and forget about it.
From his knees.
Like the old days. Yeah. Oh, man. Hidalgo, just forget it.
I think this was more of a hit and run, but again, the defense from Santiago, the calling of pitch, he's done a great job. Kurt Reeder holds his runners well. You can see that Hidalgo's running and looking. That tells you that it's a hit and run. He was not running with his head down. He thought it was a hit. It was a hit and run, and good job there by Santiago to throw him out when Eusebio missed the pitch.
Santiago and Tony Pena made an art throwing from the knees, huh? Aurelia busy across to Bagwell. Yeah, hello, across the snow. No, I'm throwing from my knees. You got me all upset with that chat. Thinking about logging on. What am I doing here?
Yeah, log on.
Hello.
Yeah, not
hello.
I only do it on
Steve.
Tuesdays.
We do know that Bonds is leading off the next inning.
Yes, he is.
That we can report. Reynolds on the interstate with the batting average.
Both of Bonds' at bats have been very similar. One ended in with him being hit, the other with him drawing a base on balls.
So Reeder fires out Reynolds. Barry Bonds to lead off when we return in the top of the 6th. Or ahead 2-1, leading off the 6th inning. Does Barry Bonds get absolutely nothing to swing at? Nikolai looking on from the dugout. Carey, Aisha, Bobby, Liz.
His mother, Pat, was supposed to come too. I don't see her sitting there though. Bobby's wife. I saw her Sunday leaving Pac Bell, and she said she was going to be here.
Bonds has been hit by a pitch and walked. He's seen a strike, which he's taken each of his first 2 at-bats. Flashbulbs going off as Reynolds throws it away.
And what you see from Reynolds is he's going to come inside on the corner or outside on the corner. And when he misses, he's going to miss off the plate inside or off the plate outside. He's trying to stay out of the middle of the plate.
Rip up the middle, base hit for Bonds. So he's been aboard all 3 times.
And that was a fastball away right out on the edge, and that's what he was trying to do. I mean, he's going to stay on one edge or the other. And since the first inning, they've decided they were going to stay away from Barry. And this pitch is right out there, and Barry just goes back through the middle for a base hit. Well, he missed it with the first pitch outside. Now here's the next pitch. Look at that, right on the corner, and Barry drills it back through the middle for a base hit.
Well, those flashbulbs, he has taken that shot to see if this would be number 70. First time we've seen him swing the bat tonight.
And it's funny because I was sitting here then, and I actually got more excited about that at bat than I did the first 2 at bats, because I actually thought that Reynolds was really going to try to get him out, which he did. He just made a good pitch. He made a keep it in the park pitch.
The thing I want to ask you about with Bonds, as we look at Jeff Kent with Bonds at first and none out. This one is ripped to left. That will one hop and take a wild carom away from Berman. Bonds being waved home. He will score, and it's 3-1 Giants. That hit on one of the insides of those numbers out there, the old-fashioned scoreboard.
Well, that's one of the reasons that a lot of these new stadiums are putting different crevices in the walls and so forth. So you'll get some erratic bounces and everything like that. And this one is very erratic. This looks like a routine double. Watch Berman. He goes back to play it. He thinks it's going to bounce back to him. Look at that. It hits and goes almost dead left to the outfield. And look at that. Rolls right along the wall. And by the time he retrieves it, Barry Bonds has scored, and Jeff is at second with a double. There's nothing you can do about that. I mean, you see all these little lines and stuff in there. Anytime the ball hits one of those, it may bounce crazy. And that one definitely did.
Ken saying, well, you know, I knew that it would bounce that way if I hit it off that number 5 out there.
Moises Alou hit a ball the other day. It came down, hit on one of those crevices, and bounced into the seats for a home run. It hit right about the middle of the thing and just bounced straight up. and it went into the seats, which was the most unusual home run I think I've ever seen.
Ever.
Yeah, I mean, it just bounced right above and went above the yellow line right into the seats.
It didn't hit on the top, like where the 5 is, where the R or the 5? I thought
No. It was down here.
I think it's like, yeah. Can I tell us straight? I don't know how to do this. Well, it hit a crevice. It was below the wall and ended up being a home run.
Exactly.
Whatever it was at least 2 or 3 feet below the wall.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a home run. I mean, it wasn't over the yellow line.
Meanwhile, Kent gets the bounce. Bonds scores. 3-1 Giants for Vanderwall. Quick visit to the mound by Vern Gould, and this one is fouled off by Bert Hooton. Golden Rule was kind of the sacrificial lamb last year when the pitching staff didn't have a good year and he was kind of booted out. Nelson Cruz is in the bullpen. One thing Reynolds has done, Joe, in his being his 27 starts, 26 starts, 19 times he's gone at least 6. So what's out of that? It's the same. 14 times he's gone 7. I mean, 3 runs in 6 innings, not bad, but of course he's not done yet. The Astros have had such a good bullpen. Really as good a part of this team as there is. I mean, this side of Bagwell and Biggio, that bullpen is great. Dusty Baker knows that really the Giants they just about have to win out, Joe, don't they? 2 down with 6 to go.
It's really interesting that, normal circumstances, that's probably true. But because this is baseball, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, the Arizona Diamondbacks are not likely, but they could lose 2 or 3 ball games in a row. I mean, it's not impossible. And the Giants could even lose a couple. So baseball is an interesting game because you never know what's going to happen. And we always think we do, but you never know. I mean, look at the Phillies years ago. They lost 8 of their last 9 or whatever it was. I mean, it happens. I mean, that's why the game is such an interesting game. We never know what's going to happen in any given day. But I mean, if you're the Giants, that has to be your thoughts. You have to think, well, we have to win every game. I mean, that's the way you go into this. But I mean, nothing impossible because just look at what has happened the last couple of weeks. I mean, both of the teams right at 500, not playing that well. Change up, nice pitch there from Reynolds.
Vanderwall strikes out for the 2nd time tonight. Brian Kenny.
Chris, John Smoltz comes on in the top of the 9th against the Phillies. Here's Scott Rowland. Chris, Smoltz's ERA in the bullpen 1.45, but Rowland goes deep on him. It's 3-1. Mesa's coming on to close it out.
Wow.
That was an unusual pitch for John Smoltz. Looked like a hanging curveball. And he doesn't usually throw it. He throws hard sliders.
Yes, he does. Hasn't Rowland had a strong couple of months?
Yes, he has.
I had to think hearing Mesa coming on. He's had a great year. But he blew a save in Florida, and every time he takes the mound in Florida, he's got to think, doesn't he? He's got to think about what happened there once.
Well, that's the one thing about an athlete. You have to be able to put things, move past certain things, whether they're good or bad, because the situations are going to come up again. And if you were successful, you still have to move past that.
In there, the Snow, strike 2. Injury plague, really struggling at the plate for the first half of the season before he got hurt. Snow has picked it up the last couple of months since coming back from the DL. Of course, seeing Galarraga fired up at first base. I'm not saying that's why JT has hit well, but it certainly didn't hurt. Reynolds paints it there, and Snow will sit. So Reynolds comes back with 2 strikeouts after a single and a double scores a run.
Well, you're right. He throws a fastball. It looks like it's right there on the inside corner. JT, I think, thought it was off the plate or high, but good pitch there by Reynolds. 0-2.
There's one other scenario, Joe, and here's Ramon Martinez, who singled and scored to go ahead and run in fifth. And this is only when you look at it, you say how baseball's a funny game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if we say the Giants must win out, okay?
Right.
That means, let's say, for them, they would sweep this series here with Houston, which, remember, Houston just went into Pac-Bell and swept them.
Right.
But if they did, Houston then might become a wild card team, and after the 3 games here, the Giants would be 2 behind Houston with 3 left. No one's looked at that scenario. It's unlikely, but it's possible. Meanwhile, Hidalgo grabs it. After the 2 hits and a run, Reynolds comes back strong. Heading to the bottom of the 6th, it's 3-1 Giants. Bottom of the 6th, crowd coming alive a little bit. They want the Astros to get moving. Of course, let's reset the stage here, Joe. This is pretty simple. The Giants 2 back of the Diamondbacks. Randy Johnson goes tonight at home against Hampton for Colorado. Then the Diamondbacks go to Milwaukee. The Giants finish at home against L.A. The Central was 5.5 as we started the game last Tuesday night, but now it's 1. And the wild card race, the Giants are 4 behind the Cardinals. But you see what I was saying, just in case. I mean, you're thinking way ahead, and I don't mean to think beyond today's game, because if Houston wins, they're in the playoffs somehow, whether they're the champs of their division or wild card. They finish in St. Louis. That's not a great place to finish if you're not playing well. So that sets the stage. Meanwhile, it's 3-1 Giants here. Biggio grounds to short, and Aurelia fires him out. 1 out.
But to tell you how strange baseball is, let's say, for instance, St. Louis ties Houston and maybe goes ahead, and they're ahead with 2 games to go, and they're getting themselves ready for the playoffs. They may not pitch Matt Marsh. They may not pitch their best pitchers, under those circumstances. I mean, Williams they may save them for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of things can happen. So as Yogi would say, it's never over till it's over. And it's definitely not over till Sunday.
That's for sure. Maybe not even then.
Yeah.
And if there's a playoff, you'll see it right here on ESPN.
Yeah.
You've done a few of those.
Yes, I did the one with the Yankees and the Seattle Mariners. Mariners and the Angels. That was my favorite.
I would join you with that one.
That was my favorite.
That was a great scene, wasn't it?
Yeah. The one with the Cubs and the Giants was a great, obviously one-game playoff was always great, but I thought the one with Seattle and Randy Johnson's being so dominant against the Angels that day was very special.
And Al Leiter with the Mets against the Reds.
Right. Yeah. So I've done 3, I guess, huh?
Yes, you have.
But the one with the first one still stands
Louis
out.
Soho had the big hit in that game.
Still stands out the most.
That was quite a scene. Seattle, you talk about a team coming from nowhere.
Yeah.
That was a fun time to be in the Kingdom, unless you're an Angel.
Yeah. You were asking a question earlier. You said you made a statement, I guess, about are we going to see, the 60 home runs year in and year out? And we failed to talk about a guy who's having as good a season as anyone in baseball, and that's Alex Rodriguez. I mean, I think he's going to hit 60 home runs before it's over as a shortstop.
Punch to Kent. Snow. Vizcaína was out. 2 out. Here's Brian Kenny.
Chris, Jose Mesa comes on for the Phillies and has to go through the heart of the order. Chipper Jones, Brian Jordan, and then here, Andrew Jones. And it's a 1-2-3 inning. Had to go after this one. Mesa 21 for his last 23 in save opportunities. Randy Wolf gets the win. Allows 4 base runners in 8 innings, 3 hits and 1 walk. Phillies are within 1. Mets lose 4.5 out with 5 left.
All right, Brian, thank you. So tomorrow now, they come back with Person, their best pitcher tomorrow, to try to tie the division.
Yes.
Against Burkett. That's
you have to give the Phillies a lot of credit.
Goodness.
Those young players have really blossomed as they've come together toward the end of the season. And you have to give Larry Boy a lot of credit for helping turn that franchise around.
The 7th inning, Larry will be due up 5th. Hit by pitch, a walk, and a sharp single. Bagwell to right. Back it goes. Back goes Vanderwall, but he's there at the wall. So Bags trying to go that short porch and right the other way. Is 326 down the line, but can't quite poke it over. 3-1 San Francisco. Top of the 7th, the Giants lead at 3-1. Barry Bonds has been hit by a pitch. He's walked. He's singled and scored. But no home run swing. Only swung the bat once. He's due up 5th here in the 7th inning. Chris Berman, Joe Morgan. Here tonight, here tomorrow. We'll have the Giants and Dodgers Friday at Pac Bell as well.
Are you working with me Friday?
I am not working with you Friday. I thank you for the invitation.
Right. That's right. You have to get ready for that other sport.
Well, I could do it Friday. We haven't gotten that far.
The other sport.
You and I haven't chatted about that one yet. Little flare, and Santiago is aboard. Like the pitching coach going to the mound to visit his pitcher who's struggling. Let's go back to Brian Kenny.
Well, Chris, there is something to be settled in the American League, and that's playoff seeding. Here, the Indians going up against the Royals. Dermal Brown with a rip. Milton Bradley. You'll have fun with that. First start since coming over from Montreal. 5 defensive play. It's 1-0 Royals in the top of the 8th, and Yankees lead their ball game right now. Yanks are up 3.5 in that playoff race.
Milton Bradley makes a fine board game.
I'd have to see that again. I didn't know he caught it.
Reeder, for the 2nd time, executes a perfect sacrifice. Santiago on to second with 1 out. And now is the moment we've been waiting for. No, not Barry Bonds at the plate. Our game track, Joe. Calvin Murray, little flare. Puts the Giants ahead. And then Bonds with a single to lead off the 6th. His only swing of the game. Jeff Kent hits a rebote off the left field wall. Wildly caroms, so his double scores Bonds. And so Murray in the 5th, Kent in the 6th, but he ribbies. And that's where we stand. The Giants leading 3-1. So here is Calvin. Nelson Cruz warming again in the pen, and Todd Worrell in the Giants, Tim Worrell in the Giants bullpen. And you know, Reeder going into the set, he has not had a year, Joe, when he goes that deep into the games. So he has done, for example, in his 32 starts, he's only pitched 7 innings 6 times. But he's maybe on a path to do that.
Well, as you know, the Giants try to get through 7, and then they bring in Felix Rodriguez for the 8th, and then they bring in Rob Nin to close it out. So that's their game plan. They try to get to the 7th inning. I mean, through the 7th inning.
That'll be foul.
And that's kind of started years ago with like Tony La Russa when he was making it a 6-inning ball game, so to speak, you know, against defensively. When you're defending, you only have to defend for 6 innings. If you can get the lead, then you have your 7th, 8th, and 9th setup men ready to put the game away. And remember, I guess the best example of that was Cincinnati when they had the Nasty Boys, and they were all, you know, they were ready. I mean, it was Dibble, you know, it was tough.
Charlton in the 7th, yeah. Dibble in the 8th, Myers in the 9th.
That was just too hard to get through those 3 pitchers.
That'll hurt. Calvin's had a lot of choppers. Seven years in the minors before he finally made it to the bigs. 29 years of age now. A little personable, light. Barry talking with his family. You got to think. Maybe he wants that ice cream that Bobby had. Little nubber. Biggio's going to charge it. Murray can fly, and he's in there.
Great hustle there by Murray. A lot of times you hit a ball off the end of the bat, you hesitate for a split second before you start running, but a great job there by Murray to beat it out at first base.
Let's go to Brian Kenny.
Chris, we go to the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. Arizona leading San Francisco by 2. It's Mike Hampton versus Randy Johnson. And here, Alex Ochoa to first base. Greg Colburn, sweet play. And they get him at first. A little more defense for you. No score, bottom of the second. Chris, Joe?
Just one strikeout through 2. That's an upset in the making. Randy, of course, can break Nolan Ryan's strikeout record. Now, he is slated to go the last game of the season, but if they have a 2-game lead, he wouldn't do that.
Of course.
And of course, he's slated to go against Milwaukee, who has struck out more than any team in the history of Major League Baseball. So there's another one of those things that depends on how the Giants and Diamondbacks are doing. Very tough. Rich Aurelio looks at strike 1. Big situation in this 3-1 game. They're really up. Bonds on deck. Richie is 2 for 3 and a run scored. Astros, who come in as a scuffling club, losing 5 of 6, put them down by 3 or 4 runs. It was a totally different story, and that's chopped foul. One of the questions I want to ask you now before Bonds comes up is something we can talk about tonight and tomorrow. How does he is a lefty hitter, and he hits the ball down the line, yet it doesn't curve. His hands are ahead of the bat more than anyone I've seen, Joe. Do you agree with me? I don't know how he does that.
Well, you got to keep your front arm extended through the ball and not roll over with your top hand. That's why the ball hooks. Hank Aaron is the best I've ever seen. He could take a ball a foot off the plate inside and keep it fair.
And a little discussion, but Aurelio is not going to win that one. He wants to go back and say a couple other words. Mike Winters is telling him what season it is. Barry's saying, we need you, big guy.
Well, I think there was a little communication gap there. Uriah was asking him, did he call it on the swing or not? And when he swung his arm like, get away from here, I think Uriah thought that's what he was doing, and maybe he was telling Uriah that he swung. Now watch. What happens is, see, he said yes. And he's asking him. Now watch. See, he gives him that, and Uriah gets upset like,
good call, Joe.
Yeah, why did you give me that? That's what he said.
I'm
what's
just
that
asking
for?
You, yeah.
Yeah, he says, what's that for? So there was a little communication problem there. They straightened it out.
Well, if they don't pitch this guy carefully, it'll be a big communication problem. Barry Bonds sitting on 69 home runs. Hit by pitch, walked, singled, and scored. Flash bulbs going. 2 out, 2 on. A whirly bird.
Well, look at this. Look what they're doing. They're not even holding Calvin Murray at first base. Well, what they're saying is if he steals the bag, then we'll walk Barry. And what they're also doing is getting Bagwell in the best fielding position in case Barry hits a ball down there. So they're daring the Giants to do anything.
Away. Barry has seen a strike in each of his at-bats. He took one in each of the first 2 at-bats, and when he swung once in the 6th and hit it up the middle. Two and 0.
I think Bobby's getting a little nervous.
3 and 0. Well, then why don't we just go ahead and finish it off, okay?
Well, I think that was one of those, I'm not going to let you hit number 70 at bats. That one was a little different than the other at bats. But it also gets Shane Reynolds out of the ball game.
"32nd intentional walk." Well, though that was with one pitch. That's an intentional walk with one pitch. Number 32, the bases juiced for Jeff Kent, who has a chance to bust it open. And Larry Dierker has told Shane Reynolds, take the rest of the night off. We'll be back. Nelson Cruz has come on in relief of Shane Reynolds, and he finds the bases loaded and last year's MVP Jeff Kent at the plate. 3-1 Giants. He made an observation. We'll let Cruz throw one pitch. Kent with a chance to bust this thing open. Breaking ball just missed. You think Dierker was not pleased?
Well, he just seemed like he was talking to Reynolds, and as if to say, you forced me to walk him and to bring in another pitcher, even though he made an intentional that last pitch.
In there for a strike. Kent tried to hold it but could not. Santiago the runner at third. Murray the runner at second. Bonds the runner at first. Kent to center. Hidalgo on. Kent has come up with 8 runners on, and he's only brought 1 in. So Cruz does his job, keeps it a 3-1 game, heading to the 7th inning stretch in Houston. And that a little tribute to America, and now the more traditional take me out to the ball game in the bottom of the 7th. 3-1 the Giants. And of course, college football Thursday night. The Rams, Colorado State. From Louisville, the Cardinals, Colorado State and Louisville. The coverage begins at 7 Eastern with the college game day, and the game begins at 7:30 Eastern time. It's 4:30 on the West Coast. So college football continues Thursday night on ESPN. Tommy Jackson will be tuned in to watch those Louisville Cardinals. Once coached by Lee Corso. Do you know that Tom Jackson played at Louisville and was coached by Lee Corso at Louisville?
No, I don't remember. I remember Tom Jackson knocking guys out.
Yes, he did.
On the Raiders side when I was at Denver.
He didn't like the Raiders.
Fan. I know he didn't.
Well, because they beat them all the time until '77. So the Astros kind of crowd a little numbed, Joe. They saw the Astros lambaste St. Louis Monday night and then lose on Tuesday and Wednesday, lose 3 or 4 at Chicago as Kirk Reeder takes them out. We came to see Barry tie or break a home run record. Well, he's 1 shy in the home run department, and Joe, we can report he's 1 shy in the single season walk department. Not as thrilling, admittedly, but isn't it interesting? 169 versus 170. The all-time walk record, George Herman Ruth, 1923.
George Herman Ruth. That's the guy they call the Babe?
Well, it's my first nickname.
Oh, okay.
that and Mordecai Three-Finger Brown. Those are my first two nicknames, okay?
All right.
Octavio Dotel, who throws flames out there, warming up for the Stros.
Again, this is a very key inning, I think, for the Astros if they're going to get something started, because if Reeder can get through this inning, you're going to see Felix Rodriguez and Rob Nin the rest of the way. So the Astros do not match up really well against those 2 right-handers because they're almost a all right-handed hitting lineup.
Tim Worrell still throwing in the pen. Reeder gets Berkman to pop it. Santiago loses the mask, makes the play, and now that Reeder has gone 6 1/3, Joe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is his longest he's gone since August the 2nd, when he went 7. I mean, he has not pitched past 1, 2. He's only gone past 6, and that includes tonight would be the 3rd time after the All-Star break that Reeder has gone 6 1/3 or more. So this is a very clutch performance in a clutch game. He has started some clutch games for Dusty Baker. And by the way, he would start the final Sunday against Los Angeles, Joe, if needed. Moises Alou up the middle. Got the 2 fly out to right for Moises. He's on with a base hit. First hit since Berman doubled with 1 out in the 4th. And that'll bring up Vinny Castilla and Dusty Baker. And just as we said that he's gone 6 1/3, Dusty to the mound.
Well, you got to give the hitter a lot of credit. Look where this pitch is. Lower than the knees and away. And Moises Alou lines it back through the middle. Reeder not quick enough to make the play. And just as you talked about the fact that he hasn't gone that long, Dusty goes to the mound and makes the change.
Yeah, Reeder was pitched some big ball games for this club, including starting in '97 in the divisional series. Gives the Giants a chance to win a huge game. Worrell coming in. The night is done for Kirk Reeder. He can win it. He cannot lose it. 6 1/3 of 6-hit 1-run game. And he has gone with Alou on first base in favor of a hard-throwing righty, Tim Worrell, to face a guy that certainly can hit the ball out, and that's Vinny Castilla. 61 Ks in 76 innings for Worrell, as you can see. A mild wave is making its way to Enron. Mild. Alou. Runner at first. Way inside. 1-1. Way inside, Joe. Slowed it down on him.
Yeah, but it was up a little bit and away, and I think that's what got to Castilla. He was looking. I think Castilla is looking for a ball that he can pull to left field because that's the shortest porch here at Enron Field, and he's trying to tie the ball game.
Worrell is the one that came over for Billy Miller in the offseason from the Cubs. 1-2 to Castilla. Hits it pretty well to right, but Vanderwall is there. Alou back to first. 2 out.
And he did hit that ball hard. Line drive to right center. Good job there by Castilla after he got behind the count to go the other way. Now watch, this is a fastball away, and he goes that way with it. Just happened to hit it right at the outfielder.
The Giants would have to do some hitting if you're looking ahead, if you're going to see Bonds again. That's not the issue right now.
Well, not for Dusty Baker and the rest of the Giants.
That's it. Just telling the viewers at home, Joe.
Yeah, they're
as a public service, in case they tune in, weren't chatting, we wanted to get them on.
All right. Look at the offense the last 5 games.
It's really gone south. Not the time of the year you want to go in a slump.
No, it isn't. And that's why, you know, 3 weeks ago, I would say the Astros looked like they were the best team in the league. They had all their young pitchers pitching well. Oswalt and Miller, they were all pitching great. And now, I mean, they do not look like the best team in the league. St. Louis looks like they may be the best team in the National League at this point. But that things change is the reason I'm saying that. A lot of things can happen. It's not always the best team that wins the playoff. It's the team that plays the best at that time.
Oswalt, remember, was injured, then tried to come back and was lifted early against Chicago. His spot would be tomorrow, Joe, but forget it. I don't think we're going to see him until the postseason if they get in, which they should.
But I think they're going to have him pitch before the postseason, because you can't go in the postseason not knowing whether he can start for you. The funny thing about baseball, Chris, is the season is like a marathon. It's a long ways. But the playoffs are like a short sprint. You have to get out of the box quickly and do something right away, or you're out of it. And so that's why there's a big difference between the two.
2-2 to Hidalgo.
And that's why I say the best team doesn't always win the playoffs, but the team that's playing the best at that time will win.
St. Louis at last report up 5-0 in Milwaukee. If they win it, that would be 6 in a row. They're playing great. Now the full count. So Alou will be gone at first with the 2 out.
Part of the marathon theory is if you saw St. Louis the first half, you thought they
500.
Right. You said they will not have a chance, you know, to win the playoffs. But things have changed. Now, as I said, they look like they may be the best team in the National League. I had an interesting conversation with Tony La Russa 2 weeks ago. I guess we were in St. Louis, and he told me that everything was set up well for them to get to the playoffs. They didn't know if they were going to catch Houston or not, but everything was set up well in that they had, you know, they had a lot of games against teams under 500, and he had his pitching staff back healthy. You know, Matt Morris, Williams, all these guys were healthy, and so far it turned out just like Tony said.
Pitching was about a month ahead of the hitting, and when that caught up and they get Woody Williams, it worked. And so does that. Worrell comes in with Alou on first, gets Castilla, and strikes out Hidalgo. We have played 7 in Houston, 3-1 San Francisco.
Brian Kenny back here in our studios, Rockies and Diamondbacks. Here's Luis Gonzalez, a little 2-out lightning, base hit back up the middle. Going to bring in Tony Womack. Diamondbacks would add to their lead. It's now 2-0. I'll update it for you. And Randy Johnson versus Mike Hampton. And going to the bottom of the 9th, Cardinals lead the Brewers. It's 5-0. Pressure's on. Chris, Joe.
Hi, Brian. Thank you. And now on, talking about flames out of the bullpen. About 141 Ks and 102 innings for Octavio Dotel.
Well, he can bring it. You're right. Remember, he was with the Mets, and he threw very, very hard. But I think he's found his niche here in Houston. And he's one of those guys who just needs experience. I mean, he's going to get better as you go along. He kind of reminds me of Felix Rodriguez of the Giants. They're both hard throwers.
Absolutely.
And it just took Felix a while to find his niche, and Dotel seems to have found his here in Houston.
And they both are, especially if things are going well, 8th inning pitchers.
Right.
They're set up for Wagner normally, although they're behind here. Wagner for Dotel. And obviously Nen for Fee-Rod, as I like to call him. We have an A-Rod. We have kind of an I-Rod, although that's still Pudge. Fee-Rod, Felix Rodriguez.
All right.
Vanderwall, Snow, Ramon Martinez. Vandy has struck out twice tonight.
A lot of people at home, you watch on television and the guy's throwing hard, you say, yeah, it looks straight, but it's really not straight. That ball is moving.
From the right field foul pole. 43,000 plus tonight. Largest crowd, quiet for a large crowd, the largest crowd this season ever at Enron, 2 years. Spin and fire by Vizcaíno. Nice play, Joe.
But one of the things that a lot of infielders do now is they kind of slide into the ball because that stops their momentum and allows them to be able to stop quickly and throw to first base. If you run through that ball, you're on the outfield grass and it's too difficult to throw back. And watch this play. Watch what Vizcaíno does. Now watch how quickly he stops right there. See how he slides to stop, gets up and fires a strike. Excellent play. If he continues to run right there through that ball, he's going to have to turn, throw sidearm, and he's not going to be as accurate and get as much on the throw. So that's one of the things that you see infielders do now, and that's why.
JT Snow looks at ball one inside from Dotel. Snow is struck out, grounded at first and struck out looking. Had some big hits this last month, 6 weeks for the Giants. There goes the bat. I think it's concrete back there.
But it appears that JT has the bat down at the end, very close to the end, and you hold it close because it lets your wrist roll a little better, gives you a little better hand action, and you get that one finger buried sometimes, and I'm not sure he has it that way, but that helps you. Yeah, see his little finger's right on the end of the knob, and see how it gives you a little better wrist hand action roll, but also you don't have as good a hole in the bat as you do if you have the bat above your finger above the knob. See that? See how the bat, you can't even see the knob of the bat, but see that lets give your little hand quickness. The first guy I saw do that was like Willie Stargell and those guys. They use that to roll their hands quickly, get a little more bat speed. But you do not have as much strength, obviously, in 9 fingers as you do in 10. So
I just figured Pops did it because the bat was, he's just trying to get everything out of it.
Well, he is, but he was a guy who used a 36 ounce bat. So he had to be awfully strong to do that.
Absolutely.
But they call that one finger buried when it gets under the knob.
Is that how you putt, Joe?
Poorly at times, I have to tell you.
I don't think you're alone there. 2-2 to Snow. Whirly bird, and it's outside. 3-2. Giants lead 3-1. Bonds hit by pitch, walk, single and scored run, intentional walk. The Giants would have to send 8 batters in the last 2 innings up, and that's not going to help as Snow strikes out. 2 out. Let's move it on over to Brian. What do you have?
Chris, you're looking at some teams with some good bullpen work. You've been talking about that. Now for the Indians, John Rocker coming on in a tie game in the 8th. Mike Sweeney crushes this. That's a 3-run shot. 4 runs on John Rocker in the 8th. It's 5-1 in the 9th. The Yankees won, so Yankees in good spot for the playoff seeding.
Right, the Yankees just got to make sure that Cleveland doesn't pass them, and they'll open up at home.
Well, you'll have to also think about that. Who wants to play the A's?
Right, I know. Well, they like to open at home.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. You like to open at home, but do you really want to face the Oakland A's again and go 5? They went 5 games last year. Yeah, last year Tim Hudson had to pitch the Sunday game, so he wasn't able to open up against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. So this year you'll either have Mulder starting and Hudson following, or vice versa, and Zito waiting in the wings.
Yeah, but there's Feerod. Yeah, but the other alternative is the Mariners.
The Mariners, right? So either way, but I think you're right. They
got to start at home. Whoever it is, let's start at home.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. And it's just about sealed off of tonight's results, or if they're finals.
That shows you how people think about this game.
Look at the. You know what? And the commissioner, I told you he was here. Wait a minute. What's that?
That's the ESPN.
What's that?
Cleveland
Track. And the Yankees score.
Yeah.
Well, I think. But
I think he wants to know what the Brewers are doing.
George Bodenheimer sent him that. Did we kind of give him that as a gift? Rick Alessandri and the boys. Let me see if we can read that thing. Let's go back. What do we got? A runner at second in the game? I like that. Let's see that. Come on, Bud.
There's Paul Beeston, vice president, sitting next to Bud. Well, sitting 2 people away.
Drayton McClain, who were the Astros. Had a chance to talk with him for a while last week. So that's how they got good seats. They know the owner. Huh? Hit to left. Back it goes. Back is Berman. It's gone. They came to see Barry Bonds hit a home run, but instead it's Ramon Martinez. And the Giants have a 4-1 lead. That coming on an 0-2 pitch, and that hurts if you're Dotel and the Astros.
Well,
insurance.
He was blowing guys away, blew Snow away, and Vanderwall, he tries to blow Ramon Martinez away, and he rips it into the left field seats. Now that you're keeping track on Barry Bonds, if one more hitter gets aboard, then Barry will bat in the ninth.
Now that ball, if it was about 5, a great shot there, guys. Dusty Baker, of course, demonstrative. Guido Santiago up, and Dotel is inside. Now, see where that landed, if it had been over about 10 feet to the right, that might have rattled around out there where the wall ends. See, that's where it is. But just about 5 seats to the right, Joe, that would have rattled, and God knows what direction it would have bounced, right?
There's the line it had to clear if it would have been over to the right.
But the porch is found by Martinez. And the Giants have an important insurance run as Martinez goes deep for just the 5th time this year. Isn't it ironic that perhaps a home run helps Barry Bonds come up with a chance at a home run? But they need one more batter to reach, as you point out. They need 8. Now we're in line for 7, at least. He's certainly not going with his main stuff, Joe. It doesn't look like it to me.
Well, he's threw a slider there, and I thought that was a fastball that, there you see.
Wait a minute, he just found out Ramon Martinez hit a home run. Look at that shot. That's Commissioners in Arizona 2-0. Now there's another one. Pittsburgh. Base hit, and we will have another shot for Bonds. That's the big news, in addition to, oh, by the way, the Giants are reaching off Octavio Dotel. Well, we're looking at the scores from the commissioner, Brian. Do you have one of those things?
I have mine here on the desk, Chris. Ready to. My batteries have run out, though. But here we go. Cardinals and Brewers. Talk about bullpen work. Steve Klein for the Cards finishing things up against Milwaukee. Klein with an ERA of 1.51 going into this game, and this one's over. Cardinals win it 5-1. Chris, Joe, here you go with the standings. Astros now temporarily half game up right now. So, again, the pressure is indeed on. Chris?
Remember, they finished with 3 at St. Louis, these two teams. How about Steve Klein? His arm's going to fall off. I mean, he's pitching like Mike Marshall did that year, Joe, right? An appearance like every day. We're hooting out to kind of straighten Dotel up, he hopes. Marvin Bernard will be the pinch hitter. And there it is. There's what Brian showed you. Of course, see, the Cardinals winning doesn't help the Giants, but it might. We told you about that back door in. I mean, this game isn't even over yet, but all of a sudden the Giants may come in through Houston. We'll see. Dusty Baker is from Nicaragua, Marvin Bernard. By the way, 86 appearances for Klein. I mean, that's unreal. Marvin has come on as well. He certainly has not had the last year and a half the way he would like, but he's come on. Almost as if they got Galarraga and Vanderwall. Not only do they contribute after Vanderwall started getting going, but Bernard and Snow played better, Joe.
Correct.
But Dotel went back to the fastball. Hey, throw the fastball. Hello. Bernard strikes out, but we will see Bonds in the ninth.
Brian Kenny here in the studio. Let's get back to the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. Here's Greg Norton. A little 2-out thunder, puts that down the line. Going to drive in Jose Ortiz, making it 2-1 ball game. Randy Johnson, 4 strikeouts, Chris. He is 13 away from tying Nolan Ryan's record.
Yeah, but I think of more interest to the Giants is that Colorado did some scoring. Meanwhile, guys that throw fast, Joe, 89 Ks in 76 innings. Dotel to the Astros is like this guy. Feerod is for the Giants, working the 8th as usual.
Well, he has been fantastic for the Giants. And, you know, he could be a closer on another ball club, but they have a great closer in Rob Nin. So he does a job of setting up for Rob.
By the way, Bernard stays in the game for defensive purposes, so we'll stay in the 9-hole. And Vanderwall is out, which means the pitcher Felix Rodriguez will bat in the 5 spot. Eight, 9-1 for the Astros. Eusebio, pinch hitter, Craig Biggio. Means we will see Bagwell and Berkman in the 9th. We're down 4-1. 4-10-0, 1-6-0. Orlando I am Merced is the pinch hitter. Had a lot of right field last week for Alou. Had a tough time at the plate. He's a very good pinch hitter. Really deliver in the role to get in the game with Alou hampered with that hamstring. That snap up here, Joe.
Yes.
Reynolds stands to lose, by the way, for the first time since late July. The Astros are staring unless they get something going these 2 innings. Their 6th loss in the last 7. Right away, Bernard busy in right field. He makes the catch. There's 1 out. Tomorrow we'll see the Giants. Barry has 1 at bat left tonight at least. We'll see them all tomorrow night at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Young Tim Redding will be pitching for Houston against Bonds and the Giants. Jason Schmidt goes for San Francisco. That's on ESPN 2. They dropped the puck on ESPN 1. Dodgers and Giants Friday night from Pac Bell at 10:30. The second half, the late game. Following Astros Cards, which takes on a lot different meaning perhaps than it once did. Here's Orlando Merced, teammate a long time ago in Pittsburgh of Barry Bonds in the early 90s. Part of those clubs that won for Jimmy Leland.
And he has always been a good hitter. Puts the ball in play. And an excellent guy to have on the ball club because, as you mentioned, he was able to go in and replace Moises Alou, although he didn't have a good time at it. But he's a very good hitter, and he does a great job for the Astros.
Barry due up third. Had a swing, hit a single. 2 walks. One of them intentional was hit by a pitch.
That's the only swing he's had, isn't it?
How about the top though? 2 for 4, 2 for 4, 1 for 1. 1 swing a day, Joe.
And that's what's amazing, that he could keep his timing.
It is, although he told me that, he said, how do you do it? I mean, we talked for a while at the cage, which actually was flabbergasted at, but he actually wanted to come over and relax, talk a little football, and said, how do you do it knowing you're not really going to get strikes? He says, I have to assume every pitch is going to be a strike. I said, it's easy to say.
Right.
He said, no, I really do. I'm able to, obviously he's able to do it.
But it is easy to say, but it's very difficult to do.
That's what he talked about. We talked about it for a couple minutes.
But he has obviously been able to do that.
Felix Rodriguez. How about some of the marks that he's had, huh? 9-1 this year. He's just former Diamondback, like you said. It took him a while to find himself, Joe, but he's been invaluable these last couple of years.
He got the first ever save for the Arizona Diamondbacks against the Giants. In their first year, they won their first ball game. Well, they won their first ball game. He got the save.
Slow chopper by Merced. Kent to Snow. 2 outs. Brian Kenny.
Chris, get back to Arizona and Colorado. Of course, Arizona trying to stay 2 up with San Francisco with what they're doing. Here's Reggie Sanders leading things off in the 4th off Mike Hampton. That's going to go out. And the Diamondbacks break back, get that run back. It's 3-1 now to the bottom of the 4th. Chris, Joe?
The Reggie's had a pretty good year. Thanks, Brian.
Had an excellent second half.
Best year he's had in a while, Joe. Healthy. Oft injured. Craig Biggio, 1 for 3, doubled to left in the 3rd inning, was stranded. Astros have had just 1 hit since 1 out in the 4th. Meanwhile, the Giants have had they've been plucking it every inning. 2 in the 8th, 2 in the 7th, 2 in the 6th, 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 4th, going backwards. Houston really hasn't even had that many hard outs.
No, you're right.
Right, Joe?
Yeah.
Castilla hit 1 the other inning to right. I mean, they've had the Biggio double, and Berman had a double. I mean, I was here last week for that Cardinal series, a couple of games. I don't think anyone could have said, hey, next week Barry Bonds is coming in, but we got to worry about the playoffs. I don't think anyone in this park. They're 5.5 up a week ago tonight. And that's the end of this is the Giants situation. With Arizona ahead. The last 14 times the Giants and Diamondbacks have played on the same day, they've done the same thing. They both won, they both lost. And it's bizarre.
That's very bizarre in that it really is bizarre because the Giants, if they could close within 1 game, I really believe that there's a big difference. You know, I mean, obviously more than just the 1 game. The point is, if you're only 1 game ahead, you know you have to play well every day. If you're 2 games ahead, you realize you can have a bad game and still be in good shape. So it takes some of the pressure off you if you're the Diamondbacks. So the Giants have not been able to apply the pressure they need to make this a real tough race for the Diamondbacks.
Meanwhile, Houston, remember, the magic number for them to get in is 2. But since they're playing the Giants, who are close behind them, they're the next one. That any win in these 3 games will do it. But if they lose tonight and tomorrow and the next one, then the magic number remains at 2 to get in. But now you can't do it with 1 fell swoop. It's a whole nother story. Three and 2 with 2 out to Biggio here in the 8th. That'll find its way through. Biggio is 2 for 4 tonight, with Vizcaino coming up. Now you see the importance of Martinez's home run.
Right.
Because anybody can hit it out at this point. But it won't matter, at least as far as tying the game. At least not yet. Vizcaino singled in the 1st. Grounded back to the pitcher and grounded to 2nd. Well-traveled, a very valuable player, very useful player. Saw the play that he made at short, Joe. Yankees last year. Dodgers a couple of times, of course. Cubs, Mets, Cleveland, was a Giant 2 years ago. Came over in a trade with Kent. Fly ball to the left. Bonds snares it. The Astros are gone in the 8th. We will see Barry Bonds hit in the 9th inning. Will it be history late? Don't go away. Top of the 9th, you normally don't see him except if they have a lead. They haven't had a lot of lately. Billy Wagner is in. Before the game, and you see Billy's numbers, 38 saves. Obviously, this is a different situation for him, and he, like Dotel, certainly throws the flames. Before the game, Barry Bonds met with the press. He was asked about not being pitched to, things we were talking about. Does it bother him?
If we get in a situation we're out of it, LA's out of it or something, because these 3 games probably will determine what's going to happen, then maybe I might feel a little upset at that time. But if we're all in it, take it like a man and move on.
I think it's pretty legitimate, Joe, right?
Well, he showed us that by the way he hadn't showed anyone up when they walk him and don't pitch to him. He just takes his walk and goes to first. But I do understand his point that if the pennant race is over and the game doesn't have any bearing on the pennant race, challenge me, try to get me out. I don't think when I say challenge doesn't mean throw a fastball down the middle, but what it means is try to get me out instead of pitching around me.
Now, was he talking about, as we watch Calvin Murray, who drove an important run tonight, the go-ahead run in the 5th inning, and also singled in the 7th, Linfield. Julio Lugo now in at shortstop for Vizcaino, younger legs out there. I mean, the Dodgers will probably be eliminated at the point. Okay, so, but if the Giants are in it, that's not talking about the Giants and Dodgers both out of there. Now, meanwhile, stuck on 69, not stuck. I mean, he hadn't really had any chance. 2 swings, it's hard to hit homers. 1 behind in the walks. We'll go back to that. As Murray sits. Bonds to the on-deck circle of really up. Look at this. The homers, you know, the walks we talked about tonight with 2 of them. And his slugging percentage is tied for the best all-time. George Herman Ruth, 847 in 1920. Ruth, 846 in 1921. And now Barry.
But I think it's also good to mention the fact that no one else has ever in the history of the game slugged over 800 except Babe Ruth.
Right, he did it twice.
Yeah, and now
and you know who's
Barry's
4th behind Bonds? You'll never guess.
750.
772.
772. No, I won't guess.
Yeah, you will. Babe Ruth.
Oh.
He's also 4th.
Okay, because I thought there was someone that.
Now Lou Gehrig is 5th.
Something.
There, no, and Gehrig is 5th, and you know who's 6th? Babe Ruth. Ruth,
Man.
Ruth, Bonds, Ruth, Gehrig, Ruth.
And Hornsby.
Pretty good, huh?
Hornsby and McGuire.
But I mean, all these guys until McGuire and Bonds did it. We're talking in the 20s.
Yeah, but they're also 750. I mean, well, not that that's anything to sneeze at, of course, but I mean, we're talking 800.
Yeah, 847.
Yeah, that's big.
It's ridiculous.
Time. Yeah, it is.
Really a punch down by Billy Wagner. Well, you think Billy just comes in with his smoke and says, okay, try it?
No, I think Billy will pitch to him. I mean, he has a good slider as well as a good fastball. So I think, he's just going to pitch to him.
I think the crowd senses he's going to pitch to him, Joe.
Well, I do too, and I think this is a good matchup. I mean, Billy Wagner, one of the toughest left-handed pitchers in the league.
They're on their feet, Joe.
Good.
I like it.
I like this confrontation myself, and I'm sure Barry looks forward to it, and I'm sure Billy Wagner looks forward to it. This is what the game is all about. I mean, you want to challenge the best, and that's what we're doing right here on both sides of the ball.
Flash bulbs going. Wagner just misses ball 1. Two walks, a hit by pitch, and a single and scored a run. That was a 98-mile-an-hour for a ball. Ball 2 with more smoke. Wife Liz, the family looking on. Pops it up. Eusebio looks and watches it fall about 5 rows behind the commissioner, who can now go back to the scores.
That was a good pitch by Wagner because he got in on the handle of Bonds. That one would not have gone out of the ballpark, even if he hits it. Watch where this pitch is. He gets in on the hand. See, right there. That's where you want to pitch, Barry, if you're left-handed. Run that fastball in if you can. But if you move it 6 inches out over the plate, you're in trouble.
Chopped. Bagwell. Over to Wagner. And Bonds is retired. Barring extra innings, no records higher tonight for Barry Bonds.
Well, if you're Barry, you like that challenge, though. I mean, you want to know that the guy's going to try to get you out so you can give it your best shot. And he does that. I mean, it's a fastball in. He got the barrel out there, but he didn't get underneath it. Nice play by Bagwell.
Give Wagner the nod.
Right.
As we go to the bottom of the ninth, Giants lead. Bottom of the ninth here in Houston. The Giants lead at 4-1 in the first of a 3-game set. You saw Barry Bonds ground out. That's makes his night complete, barring extra innings of 1 for 2 on base 4 to 5 times. And Rob the Flying Nen has come on to pitch. He was victimized by the Astros when they opened up after the attack. And the first game back, 1-run lead in the ninth. Astros scored twice to beat Nen. He also was involved in the third game of that series, in which the Giants were swept by the Astros. 2 games that, boy, do they wish they had back.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Nen is a pretty strong closer. Here it is, Joe.
Well, this is what the game is all about. Hard thrower challenging Barry, and a good pitch there. That was a pretty good pitch to hit there by Barry, but he had a little sink on it, so he hit a ground ball instead of a fly ball. He got it on the good part of the bat, and the ball was out over the plate, but they had a little sinking action, and Barry didn't get underneath it. But, you know, that's all of us got excited for that at bat.
We did.
Yeah.
That was fun. 98 miles an hour, all of them. Came into Bonds. So Nen will face Bagwell, one of the guys that ruined him in that series that we were talking about. I mean, Bagwell's ruined many of people.
Yeah, but Rob Nen could not get Bagwell out in those situations, and it was tough.
Well, here's a perfect situation to pitch to Bagwell. Bases clear with a 3-run lead. Snow and Santiago. Tough catch by Snow next to the Astros dugout. 1 out. Bagwell gone. An 0 for 4 night for Jeff. And Berman is 2 for 3.
Well, nice play by Snow. He's a Gold Glove first baseman. He gauges it and extends over the railing and makes the play.
Single and double. A foul pop for Berman tonight. Lance coming into the game. Their 6th batting in the National League. 329, so his mark will go up. And go up some more. Boy, was that ripped to right. Berman will go for 2. Bernard up with it. So 2 doubles and a single for the All-Star Lance Berman. Man, that was smoke.
That's what you call a big league line drive right there. And they used to say that when Willie Stargell hit one like that, saying that Tony Perez would leap for it. They say good thing he didn't get his glove on it because it would have drug him to death. And that's the way this ball is hit. I mean, this ball would have drugged.
Yikes.
This one would have drugged Snow in the right field with it. I mean, that was a bullet. And it gets over his head before he can get up. You don't see a ball hit that hard very often.
You don't.
Yeah.
Not that hard down like that. Not up in the air. That was. Yikes. So Berman on. Alou is 1 for 3. Hoping to get on to bring the dangerous Vinny Castilla up.
Well, these are the 3 guys that Nen had trouble with right after the stoppage of play. And they were leading 2-1. It was Bagwell led off with a triple. Well, someone ran off with a walk. Bagwell triple to tie it. And then he got Berman out, and Alou hit a sacrifice fly to win that ball game. The next day, Berman got the double to drive in the go-ahead run.
Snow in foul ground. 2 out. And the Astros' last hope to Vinny Castilla. Joe, you're Larry Dierker. What are you thinking? I mean, you still have an inside track to get in.
Well, I mean, if you're Dierker and you're the Astros, I mean, you're tied. I mean, you're tied with St. Louis. I mean, all you have to do is win ball games. It doesn't matter, you know, what St. Louis does. If you win ball games, if you win 4 out of 5, you're in. I mean, it's that simple because 2 of those would be against St. Louis. You just don't want to go to St. Louis where you have to sweep them to get in.
Aurelia charges over to Snow, and the Giants have won the first game of this 3-game series 4-1 behind Kirk Reeder. Nen saves it, number 44. Reeder's mark goes up to 14-12. A 1-for-2 night, on base 4 times for Barry Bonds, and tomorrow he will face Tim Reddick as the Giants send Jason Schmidt, and will be back at 8 Eastern time. Well, the Giants have to win the games. I mean, they have to win the games, home runs or not, and it's a good start for them.
Well, it's a great start. I mean, if they're going to put some pressure on Arizona, they have to put that win on the board before Arizona finishes their ball game, which they did tonight.
Tomorrow night we'll be on at 8 Eastern. We'll see you from Enron Field here in Houston. Will tomorrow night be the night for Barry Bonds? Giants and Astros, another big game for Joe Morgan. I'm Chris Berman. Thanks for watching Tuesday Night Baseball. 4-1 Giants.